You're listening to the Airline Pilot Guy Show.
The view from our side of the cockpit door.
WAPG, it's the Airline Pilot Guy.
Airline Pilot Guy, episode 662.
Yeah, he's up in the sky. It's the Airline Pilot Guy.
Hello, you're listening to the Airline Pilot Guy Show, the view from our side of the cockpit door. With your host, Captain Jeff, broadcasting live from APG headquarters in Roswell, Georgia. Today's show is recorded on the week of May 5th, 2025.
Yeah, he's up in the sky. It's the Airline Pilot Guy. Picture light and he's flying by. With the Airline Pilot Guy.
In today's episode, controllers lose contact with flights at Newark Liberty Airport.
November 262, we just lost our frequencies and radios for a minute everywhere.
And an Army helicopter forces 2 go-arounds at Reagan National. Also ahead, more news, your feedback, and today's plane tale, Sabotage. So get all settled in. Tray tables and seat backs in the upright and locked positions. Electronic devices powered on. I'm Radio Roger, and Flight 662 is ready for pushback.
Thank you, Radio Roger. He's an award-winning TV and radio reporter, currently at the number one all-news station in the nation, 1010 Wins on 92.3 FM in
New York City!
Welcome to the Airline Pilot Guy Show. It's an aviation podcast covering the latest in aviation news and answering your great feedback. I am Captain Jeff, a former U.S. Air Force pilot and retired Delta Airlines captain. And joining me from across the pond in his studio,
in Hartford, Hereford, and Hampshire,
retired professional dog photographer, former RAF, RAAF fighter pilot, retired Airbus A330, A340 captain for Virgin Atlantic Airways. It's Captain Nick.
Hi there, Jeff. Great to be back on the show. You know, I didn't do a number for this show, so all I can say is that 662 is also the registration of a Twin Otter, and we'll have a Twin Otter pilot with us soon, I hope.
Oh, there you go. Perfect. Nice, short, and sweet. And also joining us from her studio in Toronto, retired financier and aviation enthusiast, spreadsheet master, and our producer. It's Liz Piper.
Hi, everybody. Happy May. Oh, I guess we were on in May before, but happy May
in fact, our last show, the title was Mayday.
I know, Mayday.
Mayday.
It was.
Awesome. And as Captain Nick hinted, we're hoping to have at least one of our hosts, perhaps 2, join us while the show is in progress.
So stay tuned for that.
Stay tuned for that. Okay.
Have a good
Liz,
show, you two guys.
You go behind the scenes right now, and we'll be listening to you in our little ears, or some of us have big ears, and we're going to do some aviation news. And I do hear you, for sure. All right.
stand by for news.
All right. So, you know that pilot that was the first officer that was flying the United 767, making a botched landing in Houston. Well, and then they put him through some extra training, didn't do so well with the extra training, and then they basically fired him. And then, of course, he didn't, take kindly to that, so he filed a lawsuit. And so he, what's his name? Silva, I think is his last name. Yeah, Silva. He terminated United Airlines pilot who sued United for defamation after he was accused of botching the landing of the 767, which sent huge shockwaves through the fuselage and caused millions of dollars worth of damage, has had his lawsuit thrown out by a federal judge. Yeah, we kind of sensed that that might be the case. Didn't feel like he had really a lot of anything to stand on.
Leg
really,
to
right?
stand on.
Legs, that's it. That's the word I was looking for. Thank you. Anyway, let's see. He filed the lawsuit against the Chicago-based carrier in December of 2024, seeking damages in excess of $100,000 over claims that United made him a scapegoat for the accident by making false statements. He said that, it wasn't my fault. I was just the first officer pilot at the controls, but the captain forgot to arm the spoilers, so it's his fault. And then, of course, they referred to in some intercompany communications, I believe, or somewhere that he was the pilot in command. But, of course, only the captain can be pilot in command. And for some reason, he thought that might have an impact on getting hired by another carrier in the future. I'm thinking that's when we thought, it's probably not the reference to pilot in command. It's probably more like you broke the airplane and caused millions of dollars of damage. And then when you were given a chance to prove that you could land the airplane just fine in the simulator, that didn't work out well for you at all. So.
No, we were right, Jeff. I think he was just clutching at straws, trying to get a little bit of money to perhaps tide him over while he found his next career. Yeah. No, I quite agree. I think the judge listened to him and said, no, doesn't wash with me. So that's it.
So I'm wondering how much he had to pay the lawyer.
That's interesting. Unless it was a no-win, no fee sort of set up, but he wasn't even asking for that much money. So
no, that's we kind of thought. If you're going to ask for money and sue an airline like that, I would project my salary out for many years and, ask for millions.
The court costs anyway. Even if you didn't pay the lawyer, they often charge you court costs if they dismiss your case.
Yeah, I guess it depends on the court system. I guess this was probably New York, maybe.
Bye-bye.
I don't know.
His last hurrah.
Oh, well, so much for that. All right. I think we can continue on with, how about some military aviation news?
Woohoo, gray airplanes.
Yay. In this case, it's the U.S. Navy, and we talked about the fact that there was like a little whoopsie on the U.S. carrier Truman in the Red Sea when they were making an evasive maneuver in the ship, and they were in the progress on the hangar deck, not the flight deck on top, but the hangar deck below, moving an F-18E, I think, the single seat model, and then that got kind of tossed out the side of the ship and into the water, and luckily no injuries or no lives lost, but they did lose that fighter, and they also lost the tug that was attached. So let's see. For the second time in 8 days, a fighter jet was lost in the Red Sea after it went overboard from the USS Harry S. Truman aircraft carrier on Tuesday of this past week. There were only minor injuries after the two-seater FA-18F, so this is the F model, the two-seat Super Hornet, went off the deck as it was landing around 9:45 p.m. local time Tuesday. Crashed into the sea, officials said. The two aviators aboard ejected after the failed landing, in which the aircraft failed to catch the wire. There's more than one, known as a failed arrestment, one of the officials said. The incident is under investigation. An official said that based on initial reporting, the tailhook failed to hook the wire that slows down the aircraft, which continued to accelerate toward the bow and went into the water. I never did land on carriers because the Air Force, we don't do foolish things like that. But it's my understanding, and correct me if I'm sure we have many Navy or either current or former.
Sadly, yes, we probably do.
Yeah, Navy aviators out there. That I think when you're landing on the carrier, like right before you touch down, don't you you jam it to like at least military power, like full power to not full power because that would be with afterburner. I'm not sure exactly how far you push it.
You anticipate a misengagement.
Okay.
And in our Navy they call it a bolter. I don't know if they call it the same.
I think I've heard that term
US
as well.
Navy.
Yeah.
So until you're absolutely certain that you've caught the wire and you have been decelerated to a stop, you put both engines up at full power, so that if you do miss the wire, then you just take off as if you had the hook up and you go around and have another go. But of course, this is slightly different because although they said they missed the wire, they didn't. They took the wire, and as you can see from the picture, assuming that's actually the picture of the
if that's
aircraft
actually
involved.
I don't think it is.
Yeah.
But it's relatively common. It's not uncommon for the wire to fail. And the dangerous thing is that the wire will start to slow the aircraft down. Then it fails, but the aircraft has too much speed to stop before the end of the deck, but not enough speed to regain flying speed. So it's kind of in a no-win situation. And I've seen quite a few movies of this happening. It's damn dangerous for the sailors on the deck as well, because you've got a very heavy piece of steel wire that has just parted company and is whipping around like nobody's business. It could take your legs off. In fact, I've watched one about a month ago, not connected with this, but I watched this slowed motion video of one of the guys there, with his coloured jacket and his helmet, and he literally jumps over this wire as it flails across the deck and nearly, took his legs from under him. It would have caused a lot of injury if it had hit him. But anyway, the aircraft partly slows, but then just can't get off the deck with flying speed. And it's pretty dangerous for the crew because as the aircraft topples off the end of the carrier, they have to eject. That's about the only option they've got. If they leave it too late, they're at a very funny angle, and the ejector seats probably wouldn't be working at their optimum because they really need, when you're at very slow speed, they need to be pointing more or less straight up for you to get enough height for the parachutes to work. And of course, you're coming down in the water right beside a damn great big carrier that's doing 30 knots and all the propellers at the back that's churning away.
Well, aren't they
and
going over the bow? So
be...
wouldn't the carrier be going like into them? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what he's saying. Eventually, the propellers will get you.
That's exactly right, Liz. So you're going off the front, and you've got I've heard the stories from our Navy pilots because I met a lot of them in the past, and if they don't eject, or in the days when they didn't have ejector seats that would allow them to eject off the deck, they would hit the water in their aircraft, and as the aircraft sank, the carrier would go over the top of them, and they would have to wait until the noise of the propellers had disappeared, and then if they were lucky enough, they had an ejector seat system that would work underwater. That's when they would eject and hopefully float to the surface. And that's one of the reasons why the Navy guys keep their masks up, and they have air or oxygen fed to it all the time, so that even if the cockpit fills up with water, they can still survive until they abandon their sinking aircraft. And it's a really high risk situation. So I'm very glad the crew, I don't think they were particularly badly injured, minor injuries, but it could have been a lot worse because I think a lot of guys have died in that situation.
I thought the reason why they hang their masks, they don't connect them, is so that you can see their lips, like in the scenes in the movie.
That's just in Top Gun. Yeah,
okay. Yeah, you were saying that you were watching a lot of movies in researching this. Top Gun, was that the one that you were...
No, I love that. Yeah,
okay.
That's the one where the guy's in a flat spid heading out to sea. I think that's such a good line. That.
Yeah, and it's totally real. Totally.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Totally.
Yeah. All right.
So a shame for them to lose 2 aircraft in. Just
not only
week,
actually, this is one that we didn't talk about, and it happened. There wasn't a lot said about it, but that guy that I played a little bit of like a video short on the last episode regarding the crew that was the moving crew, and the other FA-18 that went off the deck, or not the deck, the hangar deck.
Yeah.
Ward Carroll. I was reading something on his blog that said that there are some rumors saying that it was poor throttle management with the pilot on this one, kind of indicating that he didn't push the throttle, or he or she, I don't know, push the throttles, up the way they were supposed to be, and then when they had to bolt it, or the bolted mist wire or whatever you want to call it, there wasn't enough thrust going to safely
really?
go. But I don't know. That was just a rumor.
Okay.
But
All right.
anyway, he was a former backseater in the F-14. Not in Top Gun, though. This one is from the Aviation Herald and also from Vass Aviation. We have a little video action. An incident involving a Delta A319 and a Republic E-170, Embraer 170, at Washington, D.C.A. on May 1st. They were both instructed to go around due to a military helicopter. Okay, yeah, we all know that can be a bad thing. Let's see. Republic Airways, Embraer ERJ-170 on behalf of Delta Airlines, registration 879 Romeo Whiskey, performing flight 5825 from Boston to Washington, DCA, was on final approach, descending through about 450 feet MSL over the 14th Street Bridge. When the crew were instructed to go around, they complied. And then a mainline Delta Airlines Airbus A319, registration 364 November Bravo, performing flight 1671 from Orlando to DCA, was on final approach to Nationals 19. They were probably on the river visual approach, both of them. When the aircraft was instructed to go around, the crew complied, went around from about 700 feet. They were above Little Island. Oh. The FAA reported air traffic control. Okay, well, that's just basically saying what we just said. And then the next paragraph is another utterance. So now it is time to look at the video from Vass Aviation and listen to some of the radio communication here. So. Great voice on the radio.
Washington Tower, Washington Tower 299er, radar contact right now to 1100 feet.
We're at 1100 right now.
3 Roger.
And what do you think of my voice?
Patches 3, say your request one more time.
Route 5 to the Pentagon.
Patches 3, you said Route 5 to Pentagon?
Affirm, Route 5 to the Pentagon for Patsy 3.
Patches 3, hold at 3 miles west of the DCA.
Hold 3 miles west of DCA for Patsy 3.
Patsy 3, proceed to Glebe and hold.
Proceed to Glebe and hold for Patsy 3. Patsy 3 holding at Glebe.
Patsy 3, Roger. 3, currently the traffic is at 2.5 mile final. After that traffic, I'll get to it.
Patsy 3 has that traffic in, Roger.
Shows the helicopter holding over Glebe.
Patsy 3, proceed Route 5 to Pentagon.
Proceed Route 5 to the Pentagon, Patsy 3.
Okay.
Washington Tower, Delta 1671, Arnez, Zulu 19.
Blue Street 1673, turn right on Tech 3, Foxtrot, contact ground 27.
Right, Fox, over ground.
That's Tower.
1671, Washington Tower, wind 110 at 10, runway 19er, clear to land. Traffic is holding in position.
Runway 19er, clear to land, Delta 1671. Patsy 3, Glebe.
38, Roger.
Yeah, she knows that.
Patsy 3, report landing assured.
Patsy 3.
Patsy 3, say, report landing assured.
Report landing assured.
Told you, Patsy 3.
With you on the river visual 19.
Delta 1671, climb maintain 3000, go around 3000.
Going around 3000, Delta 1671.
3 Care 4394, Washington Tower, traffic is at 4 out, runway 19er, long wait.
Runway 19er,
Tower, Big Air 5825, river visual 19.
Care 5825, Washington Tower, wind 170 at 9er, runway 19er, clear line. Traffic is holding in position.
Roger that, 19, clear line.
Delta 1671, turn right, heading 280.
Heading 280, Delta 1671.
Delta 1671, contact Systematic First, 118.95.
11895, Delta 1671.
Delta 1671, heading 250.
Not what he said. Not sure what he just said. Something about a helipad. But it's showing he's still like 200 feet.
3 Care 4394, wind 130 at 10, traffic is at 3 out, runway 19er, clear for takeoff. 2 takeoff, 19er, Big Air 4394.
He still hasn't reported landing assured, has he?
Pentagon counterclockwise out below 200 feet, helipad, something. Okay, so something going on with the Pentagon.
Tower Endeavor 5221, River Visual 19.
Endeavor 5221, Washington Tower, wind 130 at 10, runway 19er, clear lane. Careful to depart fire.
Clear to lane 19, 5221.
That's what you think.
3, are you with me?
Patsy 3 with you.
Is that landing assured?
Landing assured for Patsy 3.
Recap 5825, go around climbing to 3000.
I guess something she saw there she didn't like.
Flexible Seabreaker 4394.
Well, he reported landing assured, Liz, and then she sent the second aircraft around.
Yeah, and it's like that Pat 23 is still in the air, I think.
Okay.
I don't see it on the radar screen anymore, but... Yeah, what are you doing?
Proceed westbound now.
Patsy 3 is at the Pentagon.
Patsy 3, stay in touch. So are you trying to land on Pentagon?
Hey, we were just landing at the Pentagon.
What took you so long?
Recap 5825, contact with command first 118.95.
1895,
Okay. I think that's all we're going to have.
Guess they're being ultra cautious.
Yeah, they're, I don't know why. Yeah, they're being very cautious about helicopters and airliners in DCA. And so the thing about this one is the communication between the Pat 23, the priority air transport or whatever, the helicopter, the Army helicopter, the communication wasn't very clear, at least in our recording. It was probably clear, I'm thinking, with the actual controlling authorities. But he was saying something about the helipad. It's almost as if maybe the helipad wasn't clear, so they couldn't land. So this is still a potential obstacle/risk for the airliners coming in on the river visual or the RNAV.
He did say landing assured at one point, right?
Yeah, he did say landing assured. You're right. I'm not sure exactly as far as the definition is concerned for helicopters and what that all, what you have to comply with that. Maybe he thought the landing was assured and then realized at the last second that there was something going on in the helipad and they couldn't proceed. I don't know. But anyway, the controller did the right thing with the Republic and then the Delta flight behind it and just told them to go around. That's why it's always important for us, Nick, right, to always brief, even if it's beautiful weather and, what could possibly go wrong. Well, something like this could happen. And if you don't have your plan all worked out, how you're going to do a go around from various points, then you're going to be behind the curve.
Oh, absolutely, Jeff. Yeah, you've got to keep that go-around procedure fresh in your mind, and it's a perfect time actually. Covering it in the approach briefing is all very well, but usually if you've got a quiet moment during the final part of your approach, it's always nice just to go over the key points again, just to get it there, so that when it does happen, just like this for both these aircraft, you can just do it flawlessly, which is perfect. I suspect the controller wasn't absolutely satisfied that the helicopter was clear and out of an abundance of caution, which is quite fair enough considering what has happened and the heat that air traffic controllers received after the air collision, that they are saying, well, I'm not going to take any risks here whatsoever, and sent those two aircraft around.
Exactly. All right. But, good point. Even if you've pre-briefed the missed approach or go-around procedure, when you're listening on the radio and building this picture in your head and you hear some weird stuff going on, like what's going on with this helicopter in the Pentagon, we're going to be very close to the Pentagon when we make that final right turn coming into DCA, landing on 19. Let's just quickly kind of give a little short briefing of this is what we're going to do. Go through the whole procedure, put your hands on the things, and then when it's necessary, then you've already kind of gone through the the motions, and it's just a matter of doing
Executing.
it safely, executing it. Yes.
Yep.
All right. Good job by the two flights and the controller. And potentially even the Pat 23. Maybe it was a good job by them as well. I don't know exactly what the circumstance was there, what caused them
it
not
seemed that he needed permission from the Pentagon controller to complete a landing, and he was going around the Pentagon waiting for that permission. So I don't think the delay was necessarily down to him. It was probably what was happening on the helipad.
Could be. All right. This is from... we have several sources on this item. For those of us living in the United States and those around the world who pay attention to things going on in the aviation world, you probably have already heard about this. Newark Airport is there having some issues with things, and they're having some scheduled renovation, maintenance, whatever you want to call it, to one of their parallel runways that the airliners generally use. So the inner parallel runway is out of service until, I think, July or something like that. So they're down to the main long, the other parallel runway. And then they also have another runway 29, which is essentially a east-west-ish kind of runway. It's a little bit shorter. That is mainly used, in my experience, the only time I've ever used it is if the winds are like really, really super strong out of the west. They'll fly approaches, usually circling approaches to that runway. Or if the winds are kind of light, airplanes that are not airliners sometimes are given that runway. So they still have two runways, but not their two main runways. So that's really been affecting quite a bit the operations there. And then they had a little incident with some technology that went out.
No.
And
so
let's listen to some of this just to kind of get an idea of what the chaos was up there on what was it? Last Saturday, I think. I'm not sure about that, but it was a few days back. And so if you're ready, Liz, it looks like you are. I am going to press this button and see what happens.
United 1951,
Approach you there.
Hello?
New York, 2890.
Is this microphone on?
United 1951, how do you hear me?
I got you loud and clear now, United 1951.
Okay, turn right direct to Gimme, maintain 2500, call the airport.
You got it, 2500 direct Gimme and over to Tower United 1951. Jet 905 in here.
Jet 905, go ahead.
Okay, thanks. We lost all of our frequencies. Fighting 090 and the center maintain 4000.
090 down to 4000, up Jet 905.
905, proceed direct to Nippy. At Nippy, doing a final approach course, and if you don't hear me, you can continue on the approach.
We'll continue direct to Nippy and then join the final approach course up Jet 905. United 674 approach. Go for United 674.
United 674, we lose now. Radar contact lost. We lost our radar. So just stay on the arrival and maintain 6,000.
All right, we'll stay on the arrival and maintain 6,000, United 674.
Number 6 Charlie Bravo, you can continue on towards Caldwell. If for whatever reason you don't hear anything from me further, you can expect to write down one and call Caldwell Tower 119.8 if you don't hear anything from me further.
This is a really good thing that the controllers are doing. They know that they're having some kind of an issue. It's kind of sporadically on and off, working, not working. And they're just saying, hey, if something, if you don't hear from me again, do this. Okay, so at least there's some semblance of order there.
Yeah, I'm amazed that they're able to remember all the aircraft and their call signs and their positions when all this gear is going off. Takes some skill.
They're doing their best work.
I'm familiar.
Oh shoot! What happened?
Oh, they're skiing now.
Yeah,
they've all gone on holiday. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know how that happened. Obviously, it was my fault in some way. Let's see if I can find where we left off. Okay. Okay, I think this is where we were.
I'm familiar. Number 6, November Foxtrot approach. Go ahead. 6 November Foxtrot, radar contact lost, and just maintain 4,000. Here, 7 Charlie Delta, you here? 7 Charlie Delta. Alright, 7 Charlie Delta, thanks. We just had some frequency issues. Climb maintain 4,500. 4,500, Charlie Delta. November 262, we just lost our frequencies and radios for a minute everywhere. So I think we're just going to have to cut you loose, VFR, because we're stopping everything in case it happens again. So radar service is terminated, Fox VFR, frequency change approved. Okay, Clear check 634, radar contact lost, Squawk VFR. Squawk VFR, Clear check 631.
Yeah, 2343, you're going to be sitting on the runway for a couple minutes. If you don't feel comfortable doing that, I'll take you off. We're stopped on departures because they got frequency issue at approach.
We're fine right here unless needed to move, 2343.
I would get off the runway if it were me.
Oh, I got no one on the straight in. If that changes, I'll move you. But for now, you can just hold right there, right on power.
We'll do it.
And also, some of the news outlets out there were kind of freaking out with the, with that communication with the Cirrus and a couple other VFR aircraft that were transiting the area in the Class Bravo airspace. And they were basically saying, hey, you're not an airliner. Well, this is not what they're actually saying, but you're not an airliner. You're capable of flying VFR. So just proceed VFR at this VFR altitude, squawk VFR, which is 1200, and be on your way, because we don't have to worry about you. Yeah.
Disappear.
But a lot of people in the news industry, they don't understand the little nuances there and thinking, oh man, they just told them to get lost and you're on your own. And well, yeah, but that's okay. They're kind of used to doing that. And, and luckily the weather at the time was good, so they could do that. If it was instrument meteorological conditions or IMC, then everybody would have had to been on an IFR flight plan. All the airliners are, of course.
Now?
No, I'm going to play some more.
Okay.
So I'm just kind of blabbing away here.
Okay,
so let me continue.
Radio check, anybody on frequency?
Yeah, 674.
All right, United 674, thank you. Ident, verify your altitude.
Yeah, 674, 6,000 with flash.
United 674, ident again for me, please.
Transponder.
Ident, United 674.
United 674, squawk standby.
Squawk standby, United 674.
That's interesting.
United 674, we're not seeing the ident or the standby squawk.
How about now, United 674?
I found the right switch.
United 674, advise whenever you're in the turn.
So I have a question about that, Nick. I thought when your transponder box, or if you go to standby, that there wouldn't be anything sent out there. Their radar wouldn't be getting any of the data from the transponder when you go to standby.
Well,
maybe
that's
I'm
how
wrong.
I understood it as well. But, all the years I flew, I got all sorts of conflicting advice about exactly how our transponders worked. There was nothing in the manuals to help. But, I was always worried if you were having to move the numbers around and you had to move them through 7700 to get to the number you were at. I wondered if you left it on 7700, did you accidentally put out an emergency call? And I was told that while you were typing in new numbers, the box automatically went to standby, and it wasn't until you entered them that it come back live again. But, I never could find that written down anyway. We always assumed it happened. But anyway, no. It seems to me that ident is the safest way of identing. But in the old days, they'd just give you a turn, and they'd monitor your radar return and see if your turn corresponded with the instructions they'd just given.
I'm wondering if that's what they're kind of doing right here. I think the next transmission has something to do with that.
All right, we're on a heading 356 now, United 674.
United 674, roger. Currently showing my radar about 3.5 miles north of Mars. Is that correct, or are you further ahead?
Yeah, it's correct. We're like 10 miles from Philbo, United 674.
United 674, roger. Turn right heading 040, squawk normal.
Oh, what's funny about that?
No, it's just that he said he gave him relative to one waypoint, and the
I
pilot
used a different
replied
one.
with his position to a completely different one. So I'm going
Probably because the
why
one
didn't
that
you just say
yeah,
yeah,
but it's probably
we're 3
the
miles
one that he
west
was
of-
looking at on his display. The one that the controller was talking about maybe had already passed or they were gone or something. So, but I can tell you we're about 10 from this one because I can see that one on my
He
screen.
said, does that help?
Yeah.
040, squawk normal, United 674.
We lost our radar and it's not working correctly. Radar service terminates, squawk VFR, frequency change approved. If you want a Bravo clearance, you can just call the towers when you get closer.
Okay, I'll wait for that frequency from you, okay?
No.
Okay, no. The squawk VFR, look up the tower frequencies, and we don't have a radar, so I don't know where you are.
You're on your own. Leave us alone. Please.
Pretend we're not here.
So, how you doing? 550 Alpha Alpha and X-Ray Alpha, Zulu Tango Kilo. I anticipate a lengthy delay. Right now, apparently New York has lost some radar and frequencies on the departure, so it may be a while.
Okay, this is Teterboro, which is just about 10 miles to the north of Newark. So these are business jets that he's talking to.
Jet 905, were you able to hear anything from New York departure? Because I heard they lost their frequencies and radar, too.
They cut out once, but other than that, we had contact with them the whole time.
Roger. November 9, November 5, were you able to hear approach talking to you?
We were handed over to you guys. Is there,
Are we in trouble?
Yeah, they lost their frequencies, so they stopped all of our departures. So I was just wondering if you had any news for us, any update.
They were
If I'm in
worried about
trouble, I
that
can just
potential,
apologize
and,
now.
we were able to hear them just fine until they handed us over to you.
Okay, thanks. And they also said they lost some radars.
Yeah, sorry about the thing that we did wrong.
We are potentially ATC 0 here for radio and radar issues. What's your destination?
United 2343, whoever anyone else is on frequency. I guess this is a serious issue because I have one more arrival and now I have nobody else coming inbound.
Okay, to shut down 19?
I would shut one down. 2343 is the only one that needs to keep both running. 323U as well. If you guys want to shut one down, that's fine. But once the first guy gets on the runway, I want everyone else to be ready.
Any idea how long the departure delay is going to be?
No idea. We're still waiting on a word from New York Tracon. We're currently stopped on departures due to equipment outage in New York Tracon. I'll keep you advised as soon as I hear something back.
Gotcha, thank you.
Okay, most frequencies in the Newark Tracon became all silent again.
Okay, everyone that is on my frequency, if you'd like, you can shut down. They're going to give me some sort of warning before we're released.
I think
I hope he's talking to aircraft on the ground.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I'm hoping. Yeah, don't shut down if you're still in the air flying.
If you're in the air, don't listen to me.
I think he said in the mass aviation thing said Newark Tracon, but I think it's a New York Tracon is in control of all this whole area here in New York. And in Newark and New York sounds very similar.
2343, like I said, you are first, so if you want to keep one running, that's fine, but everyone else can shut down.
5323 Extra, you have to do that on your own navigation. Our radar and radios are unreliable at the moment.
Shut them down. I'm being told this is going to last lengthy, so just shut them both down. And when you're started and ready to go, you'll be the first one. If you want to go VFR, I'll gladly clear you. Who wants to go VFR?
We all do.
Hey, look, if your company allowed it, I would let you do it. United 2343, just a heads up, they did just extend the ground stop for here until 3:30 local, so take that for what it's worth.
And Tower Delta 2864, we're trying to work on getting approval for a VFR departure out here. Is that even going to be possible, or is that going to be shut down too?
I mean, you would have to go VFR until, well, you would be going VFR quite a ways. Possibly you'd have to call Allentown, and Allentown can give you, where are you going? Let me see where you're going. Are you going south, or are you going, you're going to Minneapolis, so You can go VFR, and then I'll check you out. You go VFR, then pick it up with Allentown. That's one suggestion I can give you.
All right, we'll go ahead and try to coordinate that with our dispatch. We've already started the process. We'll let you know later.
Yeah, and like I said, it's not even going to be, you're not even going to be able to call the trach off here, so you're going to be straight 1200. I'll keep you until you're at the 10-mile ring, and then I'll switch you off till VFR, and then when you're about 40 west here, you can call Allentown, and maybe they can pick you up and take you from there.
All right, sounds good, thank you. And Center Delta 2864, dispatch just got back to us. Because we're a little tight on some of our fuel and because of the alternate requirements that we need for current moment, they're not going to let us go just yet.
Okay.
What they really said was, "Are you kidding me? I'm not going to authorize you go VFR." That's like that's like a very, very serious situation, like, you know, a volcano is erupting or something. You got to get out of there before the lava hits you. Yeah, I would love to have heard that conversation with the dispatcher. And I'd like to say a little bit more. But before I move on and say anything else, you can take the video down. Thank you, Liz. We'd like to say hello to Dr. Steph. She has joined us.
Steph. Hi, guys. Glad to be
How's
here.
it going?
Sorry for being tardy. Good, yeah. Just usual Thursday work day for me. And I saw, I've been very busy at work, so I saw, occasional references to all of that was going on, but I have not followed it at all, so I was kind of just listening in and catching up.
Yeah, it was a mess. It's kind of fun to hear the communications going on, especially that last bit of communication there with the jets that are all sitting on the ground at Newark going what? We have our airplanes are loaded. The engines are running. Let's get out of here. But of course, I could see the reluctance of New York TRACON in this particular area, not really wanting to actually operate normally because they don't know whether the radar is going to stay on or off or the radio communications. But they would be very happy to launch you as a visual flight rules flight plan initially, and then picking up an IFR once you're en route. So at Delta, that capability does exist. But as I said, you better.
Oh, Jeff, you're not hearing you there.
Oh, hello.
Something happened to Jeffrey.
No. Something happened there.
I think he pushed the wrong button.
He's having radio issues.
No, his camera's gone mad now. I think he's going to throw one of his mixers out of the window. Yeah.
This sounds like the story that we're talking about right now.
Yeah, it's a perfect reenactment of radio failure.
Radio failure, radar failure. We got all the problems here.
Everything's gone offline. Jeff's having a meltdown.
This is the APG players version.
Just like the controllers, actually, because I noticed that.
And we're here. We're ready to, go and do things. There he is.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
Weird.
Could you ident, please, so we know it's you?
Okay, I'm identing.
Actually, just go to standby. It's fine.
Okay, go to standby. Okay, I got to fix this stupid camera thing that. This Insta360 thing has these stupid gestures that I hate. And it moves around. I don't want it to. Okay. Boom. Okay. Now it should stay put. So I guess I have this little controller here, to to mute and adjust my volume and that kind of thing. How's the volume? Is it back to where it was before? Probably need to bump it up a little bit more.
It's okay.
It's fine.
Okay. Yeah, and then I guess I bumped it enough that the mini USB connection was disconnected. And so when I plugged it back in, this thing goes to a situation where you have to move the fader knobs or fader slider to get it to work again. So way more than, and then for some stupid reason, this Unity thing is flashing like Liz, you're trying to talk to me on the private channel. You know how it flashes blue?
Yeah. No,
yeah, I don't know why it's doing that. Okay, now whatever you just did, it's not doing that anymore. I just pressed the button
again. The button.
Okay, thank you. You pressed the button.
Metro Doc says something to you, Jeff.
Okay, well, let me go to that window. Roswell Tracon. Yeah, Roswell Tracon. Roswell Tracon is down. ATC 0.
Seriously, UH Blackhawk has a good comment here that you might want to read.
Let's see. They also have moved. Okay, yeah. So one of the problems going on here with this whole New York Tracon and control around the surrounding area around Newark is the fact that and I don't know exactly all the reasons for this, but they decided to make a strategic move of the people that control that particular segment of New York Tracon. They were living and working in the New York area, and they moved that group
Long Island, I think.
to somewhere on Long Island. They moved them to Philadelphia, or the Philadelphia area, wherever the Tracon is down there. I don't know exactly why, but because of that, there was a lot of angst amongst the controllers, although I would think that things would be a little bit more affordable as far as, cost of living and that kind of thing. But I don't know. I don't know all the details regarding it. But yeah, that's part of the problem. And then moving the communications lines and all that kind of stuff, I think is maybe some of the reason for this technological snafu going on with the area, the airspace around Newark. So the actual, all the communications at the actual airport, the tower, the ground, all that kind of stuff, I don't think they had any issues with the communication. It was just the surrounding airspace for people having to fly through, either departing Newark, coming into Newark, and the people transiting the airspace in that area were all.
These delays and everything have lasted for days now. I mean, it wasn't just one.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they've actually identified exactly what's happening with the technology, why that's all, not working or sporadically working. But they also in this, and we don't need to. Oh, the thing I wanted to talk about was I was talking a little bit before I had my little microphone problem. The guys that are saying, can we leave VFR? That reminds me, and I know I've shared this before, but many of you listening right now are new. When I was a 727 co-pilot at Newark, of all places, there was, and it was actually a completely different kind of a situation. There was Washington Center, Air Route Traffic Control Center to the south that you have to fly through when you're leaving the New York area to get to Atlanta. You have to fly through Washington Center. Washington Center, I don't know if they're still like this, but if they are easily flustered when it comes to with a lot of traffic, obviously flowing through their various sectors, but they get a little flustered when they have a lot of thunderstorm activity. And so what they do is they just start restricting the traffic and putting increased spacing so that's easier for them to allow deviations around weather and everything else. So things get sometimes really bottled up. And so we're sitting there at the gate and I'm thinking, well, why don't we see if we can alter our flight plan? And I asked, before I did this with my dispatch, I asked ground controller or clearance, I said, hey, what if we took off to the north and then went west and circumvented Washington Center? And they go, well, yeah, I don't care. Whatever as long as you're out of here, we don't care. And so I asked the captain if it was okay if I talked to the dispatcher about it. And he was like the standard, and just grumbled a little bit. And then, you do whatever you want. Well, okay. So I talked to dispatch and I said, hey, I'm thinking, try to think out of the box here, how we can get this flight running to Atlanta. Why don't we do this? And he goes, look, I am so busy right now. I said, if you want to do that, that's fine. And I went, okay. So I contacted flight service station on the flight service frequency. And now we're kind of in the world of Stephanie and AJ and all, all the VFR, general aviation and non-airline kind of stuff, that world. And so I'm thinking, okay, I'm trying to remember all the things that I have to say when I file a flight plan. And it's been long time since I've done that. And so I any information that I didn't have to the flight service station guy, he asked, and I gave them, and I was like making up like true airspeed and all this different stuff. I think it's the statute of limitations has ended, so I don't think I'm going to get in trouble now. Looking back at this whole thing, Steph, I'm thinking we probably did something that was illegal, but I'm not sure, but I never got caught for it. So we're at the gate. We get our new flight now. It's still IFR. It's still an IFR flight plan. It's just we redid our route. Now, as far as the fuel planning and everything, probably okay.
A little sketch.
Yeah, because it was more distance than we were originally going to fly when we were going to fly through Washington Center. So we're at the gate, call for pushback, and ground control goes like, say again? Like, what do you mean? And so we got an alternative. It goes, oh, hang on. Oh, yeah, I see your new flight plan. Then all of a sudden, everybody else on frequency was going, yeah, we'd like to refile. It goes, okay, work with your dispatchers.
Wait, we want to do that too. Yeah.
It's so funny because so many of the other people that were still just sitting there dead in the water, basically, are going, oh, that's a good idea. Let's do that too. It turns out that we took off on that new clearance, IFR. We started heading out to the west a little bit more than you normally would before you start heading down to the southwest and down toward Atlanta. And it honestly wasn't that big of a detour. They got us. I mean, the flight plan path that I had filed, Steph, was considerably longer and in completely avoiding Washington. But they kind of let us do some shortcuts, and then we ended up actually flying through some Washington Center, I guess because we were away from the weather. So we were kind of on the western edge of their sectors. But it worked, and I didn't really think much about it until years later. I'm thinking, now that I'm thinking about it, that probably was, the guy on the telephone, the dispatcher said it was okay. So
there's 50% shared responsibility there, right?
Yeah. And he basically said, give me my blessing. Want. Yeah, do whatever you want. Okay.
Neil has a question for you, Jeff.
Neil in our live audience says, did you get clearance from Clarence? I don't know. I didn't. It may have been Clarence. Not sure. But I love it. I loved when these guys were saying, well, can we just depart VFR? And I'm thinking, see, to me, that would have been more extreme, not taking off on an IFR flight plan, because we did that. These guys were talking about just doing it VFR. And but I love the thinking outside the box kind of thing. Anyway, it took a lot more time than I should have with this one. But I think also that we're not finished yet. The union representing air traffic controllers say that multiple members are on trauma leave after this equipment failure caused them to lose communication with the pilots last week. And of course, the new Transportation Secretary, Sean Duffy, was saying, yeah, this has been a problem, and I can attest to that. It's been a problem for decades. And we talk about this a lot on the show, that the FAA is kind of moves like the speed of a glacier or glacier. How do you say it, Nick? Glacier? No, Nick says it's something, a different pronunciation.
Glacier.
Or something
ice.
like it. Yeah, there we go. Ice. See, I knew it was different.
Speed of ice. Yes.
The speed of ice. Big ice chunks. Anyway, so he said, we're going to radically transform the way air traffic control looks. We're going to build a brand new air traffic control system for new telecoms, new radars, new infrastructure. Well, that's been on the books.
A decade.
That plan has been there. What do they call it? New gen, right, Steph? They've been talking about this whole...
Next gen.
You know what? Or next gen. That's right. Next gen. But you know what? The problem is money. Money from Congress, getting the money to actually be spent on these things.
They're cutting things back now, so.
Yeah. Well,
they're also
they're cutting
2,000 controllers down compared with the number of controllers that they require. Yep. And they're saying, we're going to train up new controllers. You can't just train up new controllers and bring them straight out
takes
of
a long time
ATC school and put them into a place like Newark. You're going to need years on the job learning how to cope with all the problems that occur in Newark. So in the meantime, the controllers that are there are getting older, and they're getting towards retirement, and also they're working way harder than they should be. So when you get an incident like this, it really affects them. They're probably hanging on by their fingernails at the moment. And then you get something like this, and I can quite understand why they'd want a couple of days off after to get over it, because I could just imagine what's going through their heads. I've got 10 aircraft here under my control. I can't see any of them, and I can't speak to any of them. What the
Right, so
hell's
they're not
gonna
really
happen?
under your control anymore. They're supposed to be, but they're not. Yeah, this is, now you ask, like the controllers over there at opposing bases, has this been going on for a while? And they would have an exasperated expression on their face, and you could hear it in their voice. And they said, this has been going on for 20 years or more, before they even started working in this line of work. And it's just, this is nothing new. And in fact, even the FAA administrator even said what you just said, Captain Nick. We can't just hire people off the street and have them all checked out. In fact, even current air traffic controllers have to go through special training, because this is a special kind of a training or requirement to work in this particular area.
It's really tough.
Yeah, and this is something that people have known has been a problem for many, many years, many administrations. But they've just chosen to kind of look the other way and hope that it would just go away and it would fix itself. And it hasn't. And now it's really catching up with everybody. Yeah, there was a reduction in FAA staffing, but they were all nothing to do with safety or air traffic control or anything else. It was like administrative.
But that doesn't take away from the fact that they're not recruiting enough. They're not spending enough money on infrastructure. It's all very well to say, you have got to cut down on the tax dollars you're paying into government. But there are certain jobs that government needs to do that are absolutely essential to keep the country moving. And this surely is one of them. Yes.
Again, they have not reduced that. That's been just kind of a natural thing that's been happening over the years, and they haven't done enough to make up for it. And as I said, it's not something new. And the other thing that they said, the National Air Traffic Controllers Association representative said, a lot of the news media was saying that the controllers walked off the job, and they said they did not walk off the job. This is a system that they have. Due to the event, the controllers took absence under the Federal Employees Compensation Act. This program covers all federal employees that are physically injured or experience a traumatic event on the job. And this is what happened to these people. They've experienced a traumatic event. So, it's a mess. It has been for a while, and something needs to be done about it. So maybe it takes something like this to happen for things to actually move.
Guys, we're just coming up on the 1 hour mark, so I would say choose wisely, and then we'll get on to Gil.
Okay. We got a bunch of news stories that no way we're going to get to any of them unless we do a 5-hour show, which we're not going to do. We have some preliminary reports, etc. Let's see. Let me look through. Let me do just 2 ones quickly, Liz.
Sure.
G is an interesting video, and it just so happens I've got it queued up accidentally.
Yes, we've had a
but
preview
it's
there.
ready to go.
Yeah, we have,
Yeah, on April 20th, this is from...
well, Stephen sent it to us.
Stephen sent it to us. We've tried to get him on the show, and he keeps coming up with lame excuses why he can't join us. But he feels guilty about it, and he sends us this kind of thing. So this is from planetmountain.com. Yeah, you guessed it.
This was during one of Steph's skiing conferences, wasn't it?
Oh, was it? Oh, yeah. I can see her in this video here. Yeah.
Yeah, she's
one of her conferences. No, this happened in Monte Rosa, which is somewhere in Switzerland?
The Italian Alps, I think.
Or the Italian Alps? Yeah, Swiss Italian, the Alps.
Swiss or Italian, yeah.
Yeah. Close to the border, probably. On Saturday, 26 April, a Swiss private plane landed and took off next to ski mountaineers ascending toward Cabana Margherita. Oh, yeah, it must be Italian Alps. And the Monte Rosa Massif. What's a massif? Massif? M-A-S-S-I-F? Never heard that word before.
Like
it's an area
the
in the
mountains.
Yeah.
Tall mountainous area.
Okay. Well, so let's see. The moment tragedy was narrowly avoided. 11:52. Blah, blah. So they have these ski mountaineers. Is that what they call them? They're on this trail, kind of like cross country looking stuff, high up on this glacier or big piece of ice. And this airplane comes into view. So let's have a look at this video. It's pretty interesting. Yeah, here we go. So beautiful day. Look at that blue sky. That's awesome. Oh, here's this little airplane coming in. I think it's a Piper Super Cruiser or Super Cub, something like that. It's landing. It got skis over the wheels or under the wheels. And so it kind of touches down. Look at all the skiers are looking at what's going on here.
What's going on?
And then now this airplane is turned around, and then now it's like coming down the slope, but it's going like...
sulla testa.
Yeah, exactly.
Pericoloso.
Oh no!
Zumbis è pericoloso.
Bloody hell.
Zumbi che criminale.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Cioè, va bene tutto, ma
I've
lì
seen that
ammazzava
before.
qualcuno se lo prendeva.
Yeah, there was a break in the line of ski Mountaineers, and the airplane
wasn't
went...
a big
No, it was not a big gap.
That's enough space. That's sufficient. We can squeeze through there. They won't mind. They'll be totally fine. Definitely nobody will be paying.
Yeah, let's play that again for sure. Okay, play it again, Sam.
It's like I missed him the first time. I'm going to have another go at him.
Exactly. Okay. Now, some people were thinking that there's with gravity and the slope and everything else that he couldn't just go back, like reverse the direction they were going before. It was like inevitable. They had to kind of go down the slope, maybe to get the momentum necessary to get the speed up on the airplane, whatever. But I'm thinking, why did they even put it down? Yeah, they're going downhill, and you got to watch the video. It'll be in the show
Ci
notes.
passa sulla testa.
Yeah.
Zumbis è pericoloso. Zumbis è pericoloso. Zumbi che criminale.
What an F and
va bene tutto, ma lì ammazzava qualcuno.
Do not know. It's not like he's under fantastic control either.
No.
This was not great decision making.
No.
Say.
I'm wondering, Steph, if at some point they like went beyond the point of no return. Like, okay, now we've done it. Now we just got to hope that we can find a break in this line of people.
I mean, okay. I don't have any experience landing on snow with skis, but presumably, maneuverable enough, could turn around, see, oh, there's a bunch of skiers trekking across here. Maybe we just need to wait until they, are out of the way.
Yeah.
If we have to go this direction based on the terrain, which is a little tricky to tell just from the video.
How do you not see all these skiers there, right?
Yeah. They definitely saw the skiers. I guarantee you they're looking at the skiers.
This will be fine. It won't. And then at that moment, if they do the U-turn, they're going, uh-oh, I didn't consider this situation.
Perhaps he imagined he was going to be airborne well before he got to them, but
maybe
no way. I mean, he just scooted right through that line of
even
skiers. Still attached to the snow.
You got to put yourself in even if you thought you were going to be airborne well before that, put yourself in the position of the skiers who may or may not know that.
No, they'll move out of the way.
Clearly he wasn't anyway, so it doesn't matter. But
he got consequences.
They're on skis. They can move out of the way pretty fast. So it's not going to be a problem.
not those kind of skis.
Yeah, so it's really kind of a minor
slow
miracle
trekking,
that
they're basically going uphill on these skis. They're like touring. They're not downhill skiers.
No,
that's not what's happening here.
No, they don't have gravity helping.
A cross country little hike. Yeah.
Yeah. So I thought that was interesting. Thankfully, nobody was hurt or killed.
I bet you want to do K, right?
I do. Is that the one involving the landing on the golf course? Yes.
Yeah.
So that's going to be our last news item before we go and take our little break.
Do you want to set it up at all?
Yeah, I'm going to, I don't really know if there's
real quick, it does say that that last one did occur on the Swiss side of the mountain. So it must be like right on the border.
Yeah, if it'd been on the Italian side, it would never have happened.
Let's see. Okay. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to play an audio file first of air traffic control, Santa Monica Tower, and a Cessna. I forgot his tail number, but he's going to use it in his radio transmission. And then we're going to play a little video to show the landing, and then a little bit more audio after that. So here we go.
Mayday, mayday, mayday. Skyhawk 3753 Lima's lost all engine power. We are at 2,000, and we are about 5 miles north of Santa Monica looking for a spot to land.
Number 375 Lima Santa Monica Tower.
Landing will be, or you're clear to land on any runway. The wind is 220 at 8, altimeter 298.
Yeah, we're not going to be making the runway. Looking for a spot right now.
Number 57 Lima Roger, landing will be at your own risk. We will try to have personnel ready on the ground here.
Thing to say.
Landing at your
I don't think he really has an option at this point if he's
risk.
you
No,
know,
he
he has
doesn't know.
no engine power and has not been able to restart it, and you know.
If it's at my own risk, I'm not going to do it then.
Yeah, so I'm going to go to the video now. Okay, this is a golf course. And there's that Cessna that lost power. I'm not moving.
Whoa!
Kind of a
That's
bumpy
a pretty
runway.
sturdy 172. Looks perfectly fine.
So all these golfers are just like standing there going, I'm not going to move.
Skiers and then golfers.
Yeah,
right?
skiers and golfers. I don't know, maybe some title there.
I think if I was on that golf course, I would have, like, as soon as I knew which direction it was definitely coming, I would have tried to run a little bit out of the way.
Oh, yeah, these guys are super chill. That's like,
I'd have just shaken my driver at him.
I think he's going to move first. I'm betting he's going to get out of our way.
Yeah, I'm sure he can definitely maneuver. Well, he can't really.
Nice one by Neil.
What does he say?
Did he use flight?
Oh. I do like that. Very good. Okay, so let's watch it again. I think it's worth seeing again. Yeah, here we go. Here he comes. Obviously, engine's not running. The propeller's not moving.
He did a good job ruddering it around that tree, actually.
Oh, that last bump and bounces.
Yeah, that was crunchy, but
rough.
Yeah, but those Cessnas, they're as tough as old boots, aren't they?
Whoops. Guess I'll have some editing to do on the audio. Sorry for the language if you're watching the video. So let me do the last bit of audio on this. I think this is where, no, right here.
This is November 53 Lima calling.
This is 3753 Lima, and we're down okay, no storm, but we are on the golf course.
November 53 Lima, thank you. We are sending personnel there. We're letting them know that you're at the golf course. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you for your help, and no injuries, so we walk away with.
Well, I'm not sure that they helped at all.
They just said it's at your own risk. But
Yeah, cleared a
well, they're at least
runway.
sending they're making sure the rescue personnel, whoever authorities need to be there.
Okay, yeah, I guess that's helpful.
Remove a airplane from the golf course, because
and don't screw up the greens.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can we get the grounds crew out here to to break the sand in the bunker there? It definitely got a little.
It's not like the controller can give him a landing clearance on a golf course, is it? I mean,
No.
Of course
I think the controller misunderstood what he said after he did the Mayday. Like, I don't think he quite understood the fact that he wasn't going to make it to the airport. So he was trying to be helpful. And he goes, yeah, we're not going to make the airport. We're trying to find a spot to land.
He sounded quite calm, though, didn't he?
Yeah, I thought he did a very, very good job of communicating on the radio. Because potentially...
And not a bad job at the landing, considering there were so many
great job on the landing.
hazards. Yeah.
It was not a flat piece of land, and didn't help with the golfers standing there videoing.
Yep. And if you look at the aerial view of that whole area, other than the Santa Monica Airport, there are not a lot of places that are flat and straight for you to land out there. So, yeah, great job and no injuries. Can you believe it? And it looks like they can use the airplane again. So it was a great landing. Yeah.
I love it.
Maybe. I'd do some inspection after that last thunk.
Yeah, you might want to have a mechanic look at it. Yeah. All right. Let's now continue with this. Getting to know us. Time of the show where we kind of learn, we do learn about what we've been doing between shows. And we look at our picture here of the crew with silly hats, except for Captain Nick, who doesn't have a silly hat on his head for some reason.
I wonder who did the artwork to give themselves.
Yeah, I'm wondering, who was responsible for those hats.
Put it this way, it's not the hat I'd normally wear.
Okay.
You do look a little, like, keeping with the golf theme, a little happy-go.
We could all say, this is not the hat that we normally wear. Okay. So, Steph, we're going to go with you first because it's been a while since we've seen you. So, what have you been up to?
It has.
No.
Oh, were you on the last
here.
show last week?
No, I was not.
Okay.
But I was on the one before that. But there was nothing exciting happening last week. It was just I had more work meetings, work things going on. Yeah, so you all elected to do the show earlier in the day, which works better for your schedules, which I do not blame you for at all, and that's perfectly
Any flying stuff?
So I did do a little flying last weekend. So that was good. We had maybe not the greatest weather, so we didn't fly full days, both days, but cleared up enough on Sunday to get some loads up in the air for jumper dumping. And yeah, it was nice to get a little bit of flying in. It's definitely starting to feel like summer here, so warm. Actually, it wasn't terribly warm last Sunday when we flew, but it's been pretty warm, humid. I'm watching a line of thunderstorms kind of making their way across the area right now. Not here yet, but potential for thunderstorms this afternoon. And then I've got a bunch of running stuff coming up over the next couple of weekends. So starting off this weekend with just a mile race. Say just a mile, but this is the one I'm the most terrified for because I don't know how to run just a mile. It sounds
on
like
your
a lot
knees.
of effort and fast on my knees.
Make it a challenge.
Maybe just backwards. I'll just run backwards. It'll be
Yeah.
fine. No, so that should be interesting. Something I don't do very often. And then towards the end of the month, the 10K and a half marathon. Going to do both of those with my younger brother in Chicago. We'll celebrate our birthdays running races. So,
Yay.
our respective birthdays. Yeah.
Very cool.
But yeah, that's about all that's going on here.
Okay. Very good. Oh, sorry. Pardon my boogerigamus in my growling stomach. Sorry. May not have heard that. So anyway.
Hear it. So you're good.
Captain Nick, what have you been up to, sir?
I've been busy with my various hobbies. Got my first match on lawn bowls, which was fine. We actually played one of my old clubs, which was quite interesting because there are still plenty of people there who I remember, even though it was probably 15 years ago that I left that club. Anyway, we managed to win that match by a one shot because it was, like three teams all playing against each other. So it was good. And then something slightly more local because it's right in my village. In fact, I can walk there. It's just down the road. They have built a petanque terrain, they call it. I think it's like a court. So they play this French game, which is sort of similar to bowls, but it's called petanque or boule. And it's on a gravelly sort of pitch, and you toss these metal balls around. So you get steel balls to throw and a small wooden target ball, which they called a coche, which is short for a cochonnet, which is little pig in French. But it's actually officially called a jack, just like lawn bowls. Anyway, they also call it le petit, the little one, or gary, which is stands for rat. Anyway, by the by, it was great fun. And the nice thing is that you have about an hour and a half, 2 hours of tossing your balls around, and then you go to the pub and have a couple of beers and lunch, which that's definitely the pub is very close. It's right next door.
Oh.
So that
what is the sound? What is the sound of the metal balls when you throw them? What kind of sound do they make?
Well, they're landing on gravel. Although gravel, the terrain can be made of different materials, but they kind of.
I'd say that crunch. They go petanque.
Well, they are hollow steel balls, so they might. Yes, indeed, they might go.
That's my guess. Yeah.
I'm not quite sure what petanque actually means.
Petanque. But it's the sound of the metal balls.
Yeah. Anyway, that was a bit of fun. Thoroughly enjoyed that. And while I've got the floor, how about if I do the cover art? So last week we had some great suggestions. Planes with crowns, managed to fit one of those in. Plane overboard, that was the Navy plane. A fog cutter, I managed to fit that in as well. And funny fingers. But the one that won out, because we did it on the 1st of May, was Mayday, and that's very aviation related. So the title was Mayday, Mayday, Mayday. And of course, we wanted something associated with Mayday. And it was a combination of the sort of Russian Mayday parade they have, military parade, yeah. And the sort of more friendly aspects of Mayday, which is dancing, young maidens dancing around a maypole. So I managed to make the tanks have barrels that look like maypoles, and we've got some ladies, some maidens dancing around with the ribbons.
We've got our jackass.
Yeah, I also managed to fit an airplane with a crown on it. But that was the story about a fire that burned through the crown of the airplane. That was quite clever. And if you're interested in the show number, where's the show number? Liz, did you find it?
I did not.
Okay, if you look on that circular hatch that's in the tank
there you go.
There's 661. And that maiden there is being tattooed
I see
with
that.
our
Right in her cleavage.
logo,
I love her dedication
cleavage.
to her show.
Probably not the nicest place to have
painful.
a tattoo. I don't know.
Yeah.
But anyway, and of course there is our jackass. Now, interestingly, look at the chest of the jackass.
Huh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Looks like it has bullet holes or something in it.
No, that's black spots in the jackass's feathers.
Yeah.
That is the shape of the Southern Cross. Now, of course, this jackass is the South African penguin, and so it only lives in the Southern Hemisphere. And the Southern Cross is the star constellation that anyone in the Southern Hemisphere uses to navigate by, because that kite, just like the North Star and the plough points at it, the Southern Cross points at the southern equivalent of the North Star. It's the South Star, I guess. Can't quite remember.
It's also a great song. I think it was a Crosby, Stills and Nash, I think. Southern Cross. Did they do that?
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Excellent.
That's it.
So that's what the Southern Cross star formation.
But what's the
looks
point
like.
of it, though? To have,
it's
has
just
a
a bit of
connection
fun.
to the show?
It's a jackass penguin. That's our show penguin now. That is our penguin.
He's going to be slipped into lots of art now.
And because he comes from the Southern Hemisphere, he's got the Southern Cross in him. That was just a bit of fun, that's all.
And he's checking out her cleavage there, that jackass. He's looking at her cleavage.
No, he's checking out the logo, Liz.
I forgot to include the fog cutter, which you can only see in the big picture now.
Yeah,
So
it's
could you
here.
put the big
It's
picture
there.
back?
Yeah,
there you go.
Ah,
There's
the fog cutter,
The fog
yeah.
cutter, that's the cocktail that we were talking about on the show.
Yeah.
So
That's right.
the jackass is...
See what you
it's
missed,
ordered
Steph?
one.
All that stuff, all these
I know.
illusions.
Like,
I had a bit of spare
amazed.
time last week.
Yeah.
Oops, that was good.
Yeah.
Cool, that's me done. Done and dusted.
All right, very good. I have some stuff.
Jeff.
Yeah. All right, what did I do? It's my turn. So I am in, what's the area called? Marietta? East Cobb, unincorporated Marietta. Actually, this complex right next door to an area called Park Air, and my kids, two of my girls went to a dance studio over here at Park Air. I've made many, many trips passing by this barbecue joint when my kids were younger, earlier in my life. Anyway, that's not why I'm here to talk to you. I'm here to talk to you about the fact that I'm here with Harris, and he's been a longtime member of the APG community and has attended a few meetups in the past. And Harris reached out to me last week and said, "Yeah, I know you like barbecue. Let's get together for some barbecue, or or coffee or something. And we've done that a few times in the past as well. And so I said, yes, it's been forever because, my favorite first officer, Brent, and I used to get barbecue all the time when I was actively flying. And I don't get to eat it that often anymore. And anyway, so we are at this place called Sam's Barbecue One. And I'm looking around the interior of this place here, Harris, and there are trophies lining all the shelves and all the booth partitions, and they're just all over the place. So obviously they have a very good track record of, or they know somebody in the trophy business. They have trophies all over the place and awards. Anyway, good stuff. We finished our lunch a bit ago, and we've been just yakking away, and I'm thinking, we better do a recording, otherwise Liz is going to be upset with me if I don't do this and share this during our Getting to Know Us segment. So enough of me. Harris, please say hello to your fellow community members.
Hello, community members.
The reason why he just did that is I said, hey, do you mind if we do a recording? I said, all you have to do is just say hi. And so I think he thinks he's very funny. So say more than that.
I'm glad we were able to do this. I'm glad we picked barbecue, not coffee, because I was just having some amazing coffee, the home of your soon-to-be world's greatest coffee maker.
Okay, so I have to put it on pause here for a second. I misunderstood what he was saying. I thought he was he was in an indirect way referring to the coffee maker, the espresso machine that I'm going to have eventually delivered to me from handmade in Florence, Italy. But Harris had just returned from a trip with his wife to Milan. And so that's why he's referring. He goes, we could have been to Starbucks, but since I've had this, best coffee in the world in Italy, I'm glad we didn't go there because it would have been a step down for sure. Yeah. But I thought he was referring to me and making an espresso / latte or whatever drink. So I'll continue here.
In Italy. And yeah, I think I would have been disappointed with Starbucks after that trip.
Maybe. I don't know. I would withhold judgment until you actually have a handcrafted latte or espresso drink from my yet to be delivered machine, but I'm hoping that it won't disappoint.
Is that going to go in the mobile studio?
Well, if if I was able to order the smaller version, I think that it's something that they claim can be carried around in caravans, or what we like to call here trailers or RVs. The one that I ended up ordering is a little bit larger and heavier. I could probably put it in there, but it wouldn't fit very well. It's quite large, actually.
I mean, I'm looking at the vehicle right now. Must say it's really impressive.
Thanks for noticing. Oh, you're talking about the RV.
The RV, yeah. Although I kind of was expecting to see that obnoxious APG wrap around it. I think somebody rendered some pictures of that, right?
Yes, our brand manager, Jim Mercado, in Northern California.
Can't hear you.
I'm sorry. I should speak into the microphone. You'd think I'd know how to do this kind of thing, but I don't. Jim kind of I think that was, about a year ago or so, we kind of looked at some of his ideas for APG promotional materials and wraps on the rig. But right now it's just a generic leisure travel van paint job, and so I'm kind of going stealth, in stealth mode at this point. But anyway, I always enjoy having a conversation with Harris. It's one of the most, I end up saying it every dang time. I so enjoy getting together with the community members and talking about things in life. I don't even think, we kind of just barely touched on some aviation-related things and mostly travel. And, really great conversation. And it was great to catch up with you, Harris.
Thanks, Jeff.
All right. Now, you need to send it back to me in the studio.
Back to you in the studio.
All right. Got it. Thank you very much. That was a great meetup with Harris. And Also, that was on Friday. On Saturday night, I think, went over to a local place in Roswell called Roswell Junction. One of the guys that used to sing with, he plays the guitar, and his name is Jody. And I picked up a little bit of his guitar playing here. Let's see if we can hear it. Now I'll probably get a copyright strike or something. Anyway, they play a lot of covers like Steely Dan, Doobie Brothers, that kind of stuff, kind of music that I listened to when I was in the 70s. Great band. And yeah. And then next week, or on Monday, I'm going to be leaving early Monday morning, heading down to Pensacola Beach. And there's the Pensacola Beach RV resort. And it's very green, but that's the only picture I could find of it. And so I'll be in one of those spaces parked with the RVS. And yeah, so that I'm going to be there.
From the RVS next week?
Yeah, I'm going to be doing the show from there.
Oh, excellent. I look forward to that. They spell love wrong, by the way. It's backwards.
What? Oh, because I think that if you're standing at the bar and you're looking at the water, the intercoastal waterway, go back to the first one, Liz. There you go. Yeah. So you're looking at it. We're looking at it from the backside, but everybody else is looking at it the other way.
Oh, you love your backside. Okay.
Well, yeah. I mean, some people do.
Somebody has to.
Yeah, somebody has to. Anyway, so that's what the plan is for next week.
Cool.
So hopefully that'll work
sounds
out.
like a really nice idea.
On the road again.
Yep.
Enjoy.
Nice.
Yeah.
Just a
I'm
little
looking forward to it.
beach vacation.
Yeah, I wanted to, just get some beach time. I love the beach, and I love the nice salty air and the wind and walking on the beach and holding hands and champagne.
Getting sand in your crevices.
Yeah, that's the best part. Yeah. Good seafood, and yeah. So I'm looking forward to that. Yeah, that's it.
Nice. Coffee fun time.
Coffee fund.
Johnny, how much more coffee?
No thanks.
I love coffee, I love tea, I love the APG community. Coffee and tea and the Java and me. A cup, a cup, a cup, a cup, a cup.
Oh yeah, the Coffee Fund is your way to support us financially if you'd like. Let's see, a couple different ways to do it. We have one's called the Coffee Fund Classic Method, basically a PayPal donation site. And since the last show, a couple of very nice, generous donations from Gubby, Paul Gubb, and Mr. Lee Ogg. And remember, he also sent in some feedback last time, and we asked if he was any relation to the Captain Ogg out in the Pacific Ocean. And I think we have some feedback from him regarding that. So hopefully we'll be able to get to that feedback on today's show, or maybe the next episode. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Yeah, I thought we did. Maybe not. Okay. Anywho, Mel, maybe you just send it to me. We'll figure it out, Lee. We'll make sure we cover your feedback regarding that. Also, you can join us or be part of the Coffee Bar Club by being a patron of the show via patreon.com. So both of those methods and how you can get involved with that are located on our website, airlinepilotguy.com. Go to /coffee. You'll be glad you did. We will too. Okay, so it's that time in the show for this installment of the Old Pilot's Plain Tales, and I believe it has a very simple title.
The Old Pilot's Plain Tales, Sabotage.
From the French word saboteur, sabotage refers to the act of bungling, botching, or wrecking something, particularly for political or military aims. It's derived from the French word for a wooden shoe, a sabot, and likely refers to clumsy work carried out by those peasants who clattered about in such simple footwear. In 1908, it was attributed to workers damaging an employer's machinery by kicking it with their sabots. By the end of the 19th century, it was synonymous with action taken to deliberately and maliciously destroy property to disrupt production. During the Industrial Revolution, acts of sabotage became commonplace as a means of industrial action, such as the destruction of mechanical stocking frames by Luddites. During World War I, the destruction of over 2 million pounds, nearly 1 million kilos of ammunition and TNT stored on Black Tom Island in New York Harbor was achieved by agents of the Office of Naval Intelligence of the German Empire. The ammunition was about to be shipped to the Allies in Europe when it was set alight, and the subsequent detonation became one of the largest artificial non-nuclear explosions in history. The world of aviation escaped acts of sabotage until 1933, when a sleek and streamlined Boeing 247 of United Airlines Flight 23 taxied to the departure gate at Newark Airport to allow its passengers to embark. At a time when most airlines were flying flimsy wood and cloth biplanes that looked like old World War I bombers, and indeed many were, Boeing were ahead of the game. The 247 had many advanced design features, all in one neat package. It was an all-metal aircraft built of anodized aluminium and of semi-monocoque design, in that much of the aircraft's strength came from its stressed shell structure and only part from conventional reinforcement. It incorporated a fully cantilevered single wing and partly retractable landing gear. Indeed, Boeing turned this into an attractive feature, explaining that in the event of a gear malfunction, the protruding wheels could be used to land on with minimal damage. They couldn't quite explain away the inconvenience of the wing spar, which ran right across the middle of the small cabin, however. Other features included control surface trim tabs, an autopilot, and inflatable de-icing boots on both the wings and the tailplane. At the time, the 247 was faster than the best U.S. fighters of the day, the Boeing P-12, and with its low landing speed of only 62 miles per hour, it didn't need complicated lift devices like flaps. It performed well enough on one engine to maintain 11,500 feet at max gross weight. Originally designed with 14 passenger seats and powered by the Pratt & Whitney Hornet radial engines, United Airlines preferred a smaller version powered by Wasp radials. Early versions could be easily recognized by their reverse-sloping cockpit windows designed to reduce reflections from the cockpit lights. When the passengers of Flight 23 arrived, there were only 2 who came on board to join the crew of 3, 2 pilots and a stewardess. One was a trim young lady who was keen to explain that she had missed her earlier flight and was anxious to get to Reno the next day for her marriage. A middle-aged man who had drunk a bit too much was a retired grocer. In his luggage was a small-bore rifle with some rounds, as he was to compete in a shoot at Chicago's North Shore Gun Club the very next day. He made a fuss about taking a parcel wrapped in brown paper with him into the cabin. The pretty young stewardess slammed the door closed, the captain gunned the engines, and the aircraft taxied away. The 247 was unusually maneuverable on the ground, as at speeds as low as 10 miles an hour, the tail could be lifted and the aircraft turned very easily. Once airborne, the pilots took up a course for Cleveland, and 3 hours later they side-slipped down onto the runway for a nice, smooth landing. After Cleveland, they were due to stop at Chicago before their final leg to Oakland, California. Waiting at the Cleveland terminal were 2 more passengers, a young refrigerator salesman and a radio serviceman who had recently started working for the airline, but as his wife was frightened of airplanes, he had yet to confess about his new job. Their route would now take them along the southwestern coast of Lake Erie, across the farmlands of Ohio and Indiana, before crossing the southern tip of Lake Michigan as they approached Chicago. As they flew west, the sun set before them, bathing the countryside below in its orange glow as the sky darkened above. Homing in on the radio stations of Chicago with their loop automatic direction finder aerial, they marked their position on the maps. To the right was Michigan City as they approached Chesterton. It was 8:46 in the evening as they checked in with the radio operator at Chicago, ending with a little laconic "okay," when, a little later, the townsfolk of Chesterton looked up in alarm, frightened by a terrific explosion overhead. They ran from their houses to see Flight 23 gyrating crazily in the sky, its tail broken off. With its cabin lights ablaze, the plane pitched down and spun to earth, whipped off the tops of a clump of trees, crashed onto its back with another ear-splitting blast. Towering flames did the rest. Joe Groff said,
"I was dealing in a game of hearts with some neighboring farmers shortly before 9 o'clock last night. We heard an explosion."
According to a United Press story from October the 11th, 1933. Groff ran to a window and
"Saw a big plane coming down. Flames appeared to be shooting out from it."
Fred Rode had a farm nearby. He, too, ran towards the crash site.
"You couldn't get near the wreckage. The heat was so bad. Hundreds of pieces of the fuselage were scattered across a field,"
he told the Times newspaper of Hammond, Indiana.
"One of the charred victims, a woman, was decapitated. Arms and legs, now only burned stumps,"
added a gruesome touch to the tragedy. The initial explosion had split the aircraft in two, and the tail section hit the ground about 1.5 miles from the rest of the wreckage, almost intact. The stricken Boeing had hit the ground at speed and with enough force to split open the fuel tanks. The gasoline had caught fire and burned, consuming much of the plane and what it had contained. In or nearby were the bodies of the pilots, 2 of the passengers and the stewardess, a trained nurse, only recently hired by United, and the first from the company to be killed in an air crash. Her fiancé was waiting for her in vain at Chicago Airport. The bodies of the 2 remaining passengers weren't found until daybreak. They were eventually discovered in the weeds about 1/2 mile from the main part of the aircraft, having been blown out of the plane following the initial explosion, or had jumped. People came from miles around to view the crash, and several picked up pieces of the wreckage or its contents as souvenirs. By that time, the FBI agents were on the scene, and they tried to collect the parts of the plane that had been stolen by souvenir hunters. The initial theories for the crash came from inspectors with the aeronautic branch of the U.S. Department of Commerce, who surmised that uncontrolled flutter of the tail may have caused the disintegration, but the FBI brought in investigators from the Crime Detection Laboratory at Northwest University in Chicago to examine the wreckage. The laboratory submitted its initial reports stating that the cause of the crash was an explosion produced by a high explosive of the type of nitroglycerine, dynamite, TNT, or some similar substance. The explosion had occurred towards the aircraft's rear, in the upper portion of the lavatory, or in the blanket compartment built into the bathroom compartment. The inside of the toilet door was pockmarked with bits of metal, and the other side was unscathed. A blanket was peppered with tiny burned holes and parts of a bottle. These were rushed to the crime detection lab, and presently United Airlines announced its findings. The crash was caused by a high explosive. The blast occurred probably in the lavatory cabinet where blankets had been stored. Whether the explosive was a bottle of nitroglycerine or a time bomb, analysts could not say. Initially, suspicion fell on the drunk grocer who came aboard with a package, but agents dismissed all thoughts of that lead when the harmless package was found in the wreckage. They also dismissed a theory that friends of convicted kidnappers who had been flown to prison in a chartered United plane would seek such a fantastic revenge. They pondered the suggestion that some lunatic, worked up over United's wage dispute with its pilots, might have planted the bomb. But none of these notions seemed the real answer to the question. Who could have wanted to murder any of the 7 persons or some other person who did not fly in Flight 23? Over 90 years later, the FBI released documents relating to their investigation amounting to 324 pages of interviews and analysis. The reports concluded with a statement signed by John Edgar Hoover stating,
"The investigation conducted has disclosed no facts which would warrant presenting this case to the United States Attorney. Therefore, no further investigation will be conducted by this Bureau."
Whilst many suggest that this appalling crash is notable for being the first proven act of air sabotage in the history of commercial aviation, it's possible that an earlier crash claims this dubious honour. A few months earlier, an Armstrong Whitworth Argosy of Imperial Airways, registration Golf Alpha Alpha Charlie India and named City of Liverpool, crashed a few months earlier in very suspicious circumstances. The City of Liverpool had left Brussels Harlem Airport in the early afternoon of March the 28th, 1933, en route for Croydon in London. Whilst cruising around 4,000 feet and 95 knots, an intense fire broke out in the tail section of the aircraft. The pilots may have attempted an emergency landing near Dixmude, but the aircraft stalled at 200 feet, at which point the tail of the aircraft separated from the rest of the fuselage and both sections crashed to the ground. All on board were killed. A male passenger seemingly jumped from the aircraft just before the crash and was also killed. He was later identified as Albert Voss, a German émigré who practiced as a dentist in the Manchester area in the United Kingdom. Although an investigation found that the fire had started at the rear of the aircraft, in either the lavatory or the luggage area, it proved impossible to isolate a specific cause. However, suspicion began to centre around Albert Voss. At Voss's inquest in Manchester, a lawyer representing Voss's estranged younger brother, also named Albert, accused the elder Voss of being responsible for the crash. The dentist's business trips to the continent to buy anesthetic were a cover for his involvement in drug trafficking, and that this had not gone unnoticed by law enforcement agencies. The younger Voss alleged his brother had a plan to shake off the authorities by destroying the aircraft and leaving the scene of the crime, hoping that no one would notice a missing body in the confusion. Obviously, the circumstances of City of Liverpool's crash made it impossible to leave the aircraft at a lower or safer altitude. The coroner stated, "The fire on the airliner broke out near where Mr. Voss sat, and he must have flung himself from the aircraft immediately. The fingers of Mr. Voss's left hand were badly burned, but the right hand was only slightly burned. There is some question whether this is consistent with the possibility that he held some inflammable or explosive material in his hands. There is a suggestion that he committed suicide and tried to make his death look like an accident, sacrificing the airliner and all on board. Mr. Voss was insured for £500 for the flight, besides holding other policies. Voss was undoubtedly financially embarrassed and was wanted by the police for alleged embezzlement in Germany. In an interesting but gruesome twist, it was discovered that Voss was travelling with his partner and his 16-year-old niece. Since he was sure he would be arrested in London, it was claimed that Voss abandoned his partner and niece and took his chances by leaving the aircraft. Although directed by the coroner to return a verdict of accidental death, the jury came back with an open verdict, affirming the occurrence of suspicious death, but not specifying the cause. I personally find it intriguing that the circumstances of this crash seem eerily similar to those of Flight 23, and wonder if there's any chance there is a possible connection. Finally, dear listener, should you be wondering if I have ignored the Hindenburg disaster as a candidate for the first case of sabotage in civil aviation? Regardless of what you believe caused the spark that ignited that particular inferno, it happened 4 years after the aforementioned crashes.
Very interesting.
Very, very interesting, but stupid.
But stupid.
Yeah?
Wow. You know, I always love hearing our good friend and voiceover professional, Greg Willits. That's the first time I've listened to the plane tell, and I was in the other room grabbing some more water, so I was listening to our show on my phone. And
well done.
Hey, I recognize Greg's awesome
and then there was,
voice.
Of course, Nick doing his own voiceover.
Yeah, so I heard that, but I'm sorry,
special.
Greg has you beat, man.
Yeah, I
For a voice
definitely.
actor.
That's why I always ask him when I need a bit of professional chit chat doing. Greg is always kind enough to give that a go, and I do need to plug him yet again because he is such an expert, and I have no doubt that he did quite a bit of research into J. Edgar Hoover's voice so that he could reproduce that little statement so well.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're interested in a truly professional voiceover artist, just go to gregwillits.com/voiceovers and you'll find out all sorts of information about him.
Well, let's make sure that we put that link in our show notes so that they spell it correctly. So,
yeah.
All right. Very good. But it was great stories. Not stories, but real stories.
Indeed. You know, I must admit, when I did a little bit of research about the Boeing 247, I was amazed how advanced it was, considering the general standard of aviation in 1933, and the fact that Zeppelins were still flying across the Atlantic, and yet they had this aircraft bombing around. It looks really modern, streamlined, monoplane. Oh, hello. Okay, just sorry, Sarah's just joined in. Bombing around at great speed, capable of true single-engine operations, an all-metal aircraft of semi-monocoque design, which was very advanced for the time. A great-looking small aircraft as well.
And a clever design with the wheels that are, like still protruding in case there's some kind of a problem with extending the landing gear. And as you said, it had nothing to do with the wing spar, running through the middle of the wing there where the wheels had to be.
Not at all.
Go. No.
Yeah, they just left those bit hanging out for fun, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, mind you, they copied that almost on the 737. But the 737, they got the wheels turned through 90 degrees. So it's a shame they didn't leave them sticking down.
A little more flush,
that, the 737 could do a wheels-up landing safely as well. Although
engineers
engine pods probably would have got in the way of
that's a little bit of a problem. Well, just put some wheels on the bottom of the pods. Then you got.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Why don't all airplanes do that?
Yeah.
Just put some little roller skate wheels on the bottom of them.
Yeah.
Fine.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Great idea.
We should design
we should paint that. Yeah.
Yeah. Excellent idea.
Anyway, glad you enjoyed it.
That was awesome.
A slight change from my usual fare.
Captain, incoming message.
All right, we're going to start off with this feedback from Texas Anla'Shok. The title of his feedback is The Coolest Navy Jet. Greetings, Captain Jeff and APG crew. If someone asks what the coolest Navy plane is, what comes to mind? Probably the F-18 for current generations. It's really cool now that they've sunk a couple into the Red Sea. They're really cold. Possibly the F-35, maybe the F-14 or F-4 for older generations. History buffs might point to the F-4F Hellcat or the F-4U Corsair. Some might say the P-8 Poseidon, which is a 737 that can fire anti-ship missiles and drop torpedoes. Come on. But here we have a video that makes flying the A6 Intruder seem like the coolest thing ever. This is from YouTuber The Fat Electrician, a channel that does little history bits in a rather unique style. Yeah, I should warn everybody that if you have little ones listening to the video, you might want to cover their ears, or a couple places with a little bit of a adult language, but in the audio podcast, I'll bleep that out. A little background. This video is covering Operation Praying Mantis in 1988. The U.S. Navy, in retaliation for the mining of one of their frigates, the USS Samuel B. Roberts, under the direction of President Reagan, decides to issue a proportional response. This becomes a running gag through the thing. The objective is to destroy 3 oil rigs that the Iranian Navy uses as bases and sink one or both of Iran's modern frigates. As the mission progresses, they destroy 2 of the 3 rigs, but then they wind up sinking an Iranian fast attack boat. And then they shoot down an Iranian F-4. U.S. command calls a pause to reassess the situation, but then one of their high-priority targets shows up, and that's where we pick up. Just a warning, this guy does use language. Yep, yeah. Yes, it is English for you literalists out there. Anyway, fair warning. So clear skies and tailwinds. This is Texas Anla'Shok signing off, and he gave us the time code for this. So if you'll put that on the stage, Liz, we'll go ahead and play. All right, here we go.
F-4s. Now America has taken out an entire naval vessel and an F-4 that they did not plan on taking out, and it's throwing off all of our proportions. And because of that, American leadership orders Bravo Group to stand down. We're not going to go take out that 3rd oil rig. And right as soon as that order gets given out, Delta Group chimes in and is like, hey, we found that frigate we were looking for. So now nobody knows what to do, because on one hand, things are already getting out of control, but on the other hand, we really want to take out these frigates. So American leadership decides, well, we might not even have to make a hard decision. Maybe that's not even the frigate and the radar's wrong. Why don't you go ahead and send a couple A6 intruders over, do a flyby. They can verify that it's actually this new modern frigate, and if it is, we'll make a decision from there. Or so they thought, because the A6 pilots are about to decide that they are in fact the main characters of this story. You see, the USS Enterprise and its aircraft aren't really supposed to be doing a whole lot. They're more or less just there for insurance. In fact, they're only allowed to engage the enemy under one of two conditions. One, the President of the United States signs off on it, which is actually what happened with the speedboats earlier. Or two, they get fired upon first. So they got told to go fly by this boat to verify that it is in fact the new modern frigate, but they didn't get told how to fly by the boat, so they drop down 50 feet above the water and just gun it, and they buzz the entire ship. So the ship opens fire with its AA guns, but these planes are so low to the water, the AA guns can't actually aim down low enough, so all the anti-aircraft fire goes right over the top of them. They continue to stay low enough till they get out of anti-aircraft gun range, and then they pull up, at which point the ship launches a bunch of surface-to-air missiles at them. They drop chaff as a countermeasure, takes care of those, no big deal. They then go around, do a U-turn, send a radio message to this frigate, "I'm going to sink you now," which they can now legally do, because remember, the ship fired on them first.
Victim to one of the classic blunders.
So the A6 fires an anti-ship harpoon missile, and the second they pull the trigger on that, the fire control team from the USS Enterprise is like, "What the f*** are you doing? We're not supposed to be killing things yet." And the A6s are like, "Look, they fired at us first. Them's the rules." And the USS Enterprise is like, "Holy shit, okay, I guess. Let them have it." Then the harpoon missile finally makes impact. It's a bullseye. The A6s do a U-turn, go, drop another 500-pound laser-guided bomb right through the deck of this frigate, fly past it, do another U-turn, come back, drop a 1,000-pound bomb on it. Then they radio over to the Enterprise and like, "Yeah, it's definitely gonna sink. We're gonna head back." So the A6s take off, headed back to the Enterprise, and like 5 minutes later, Delta Group shows up with their warships and begin firing on the already sinking frigate. They hit the magazine, the frigate explodes, rapidly sinks to the ocean floor. At this point, naval leadership is like, "Okay, everybody stop killing things. We need to figure out what all happened. We got to keep this proportional, remember." So they start radioing back and forth. Everybody's figuring out what everybody did, if anybody's hurt, what's going on, the whole story. And then as the A6s are making their way back to the USS Enterprise, guess what they happen to fly past? The other modern frigate. So now the entire US Navy's looking at this last frigate like SpongeBob looking at a jug of water.
I don't need it.
But also, like, realistically speaking, the A6s are pretty much out of ammunition. The only thing they have left are 2,000-pound bombs, and those just aren't going to be enough by themselves without a harpoon missile to take down this ship anyways, so they really are just going to fly by and verify that it's the modern frigate. So the A6 intruders go ahead, they do their flyby. It is in fact the new frigate that they thought it was, and it does in fact open fire on the A6s. A6s make it out completely unscathed, at which point they pop a U-turn, and one of the A6 pilots is like,
It's the bullseye womp rats in my T-16 back home.
So the A6 pulls up, gaining altitude, and then dives down, aims its nose right at the frigate at like a 35-degree angle. They're doing a good old-fashioned dive bombing run like it's World War II. The AA guns start firing, there's bullets whizzing past the plane, but they're committed now. They're closing in, closing in. The bombardier behind the pilot lets the pilot know, "Hey, I'm locked on." At which point, bombs away, the pilot pulls up, and the bomb goes right down the smokestack of this boat. Blows up, completely destroying the entire engine room. That frigate is now dead in the water with no power. The A6s go ahead and radio in that they have completely disabled this frigate, at which point the American leadership calls a complete ceasefire. They're going to go ahead and let that frigate survive, get towed off, potentially be repaired.
All right. That was the clip that Texas Anla'Shok wanted us to listen to. And as I said, apologies for the language, but for those of you watching the video, we'll make sure that we'll clean that up for the audio-only podcast, which is what most people are listening to anyway. So, yeah, that was interesting. Back in, what was it, 88, I think he said? When that happened. Yeah. Interesting proportional response.
Yeah, as that was playing, I was reading through the Wikipedia page on the A6, but I don't think they mentioned that particular incident.
Yeah, that A6 was a kind of a badass airplane, really. That Intruder is a pretty cool jet. Yeah, interesting how things work in contingency or wartime operations. Well, they fired at us first, so now we have the green light.
Them's the rules.
Them's the rules.
So there's a lot more video for them to watch. And,
Yeah. Oh, that was just a little piece of it. Let's see. How long is this thing? It's quite long, actually.
like an hour.
Yeah. So we'll have a link to that in the show notes if you want to watch the whole thing. But as Texas Anla'Shok said, this guy's he's a character. He likes tattoos. He's very covered with tattoos.
His YouTube channel is the Fat Electrician. I think
The Fat Electrician, and Tim Van Ram says 1-800-TATS for tots.
Oh no, that's
okay.
not the one I put. I didn't mean to put that up. No, that's the next one I put up.
Well, I was reading. I thought it was kind of cute. That one, but he said be sure to cut out the F word, frigates. Oh, okay, yeah, it's very offensive. Thank you for being sensitive, Tim.
Yes.
Well, I'm offended when Tim's here. All right.
You've got no audio now.
Audio feedback. Okay, let's see. Let's make sure I have that. And of course I do. Oh, it's right there in the. Yeah, it's right here in the Evernote. Okay. So this is feedback from Eric Taylor. Feedback number 2. Yay. Hello. There's Eric from Indiana. With me at Oshkosh. Hello again, Sir Jeffrey of Nielsen. Eric from Indiana here again with my second feedback. I've included a photo of us in Oshkosh to jog your memory. I remember, Eric. I hope my audio is better this time around. Just for clarity, in case I didn't articulate it well enough in my audio, my question is regarding the common black radomes we used to see on airliners back in the day. What was the reason for them being painted black, and why do we no longer see this today? Keep up the wonderful show. We listen dutifully every week. Hope to see you in Oshkosh this summer. Yeah, I plan on going. And I think, Steph, you're going to be there as well, right?
I'm going to try to get there for part of the week, yes.
Okay, cool. And he says, take care and God bless. Eric out. All right, so he sent us some audio feedback. Let's take a listen.
Hello again, APG crew. Eric here, coming at you again from Central Indiana. This is my number 2 feedback. First one was a little bit hard to listen to. I was driving my car, so sorry about that. I'm actually in my car again right now, but I'm not driving. I'm just sitting here. So hopefully this recording turns out a little better. Jeff, I got to meet you at Oshkosh this year. Actually, I guess it was last year, 2024, at the wonderful recording of the OB show. So that was really cool to meet you. I think a little bit later on in the recording, my wife showed up and we all hung out for a little bit together. So I'm going to include a picture of all of us, Jeff. So hopefully that'll kind of jog your memory there. But since then, we had a couple of cool things happen. We had a baby. And he's been all kinds of fun. We're actually just sitting here in the parking lot today having a little 1-month checkup for him. So as that goes, not much in the way of flying has really been happening for me, although I did just get the carburetor back onto my Grumman today. A buddy of mine texted me a picture of it today and said, hey, your carburetor's back on. So that's cool.
Nice.
Jeff, when we talked that day at Oshkosh, you suggested that I send in more feedback, so here we are. And I have a question for you guys. We were watching video the other night on YouTube. It just happened to pop up. It was like a 80s and 90s compilation of different airports, all kinds of air travel, people boarding, taking off, landing, all that kind of thing. Got to see a lot of my old favorite airplanes, including the TriStar. That was actually the first airplane I ever got to fly on with my folks. I was almost 2 years old, and we did a lot of flying on those back in the day on ATA. So I got a lot of happy memories associated with that. But the question came up as we were watching this, and it was actually my wife that mentioned it. And she said, back in these days, there were a lot of airliners that had black paint on the very tip of the radome, on the very tip of the nose, and that's not something you really see anymore. Now, I thought I heard somewhere at some time that this was like a rubber coating. I'm not sure if that's correct, but we were wondering why you don't really see that anymore. The only time I've seen it really is, I think there was a Lufthansa vintage style, like a retro throwback kind of paint scheme on, I think it was some of their 747s, and they had that black radome on there. So kind of a obscure, nerdy question, but curious if you guys have any insight to that. So in the meantime, I will continue to enjoy the show. Excited for you, Jeff, that you are getting back into an apartment. That sounds like an exciting thing for you, so that sounds cool. Hope everybody's doing good. Rick, man, if you hear this, we miss you. And until next time, we will wish you clear and windy skies like we got here. We got crazy wind coming up here today. Blue skies, if you find them. And talons, Douglas.
Hey, right. Thank you, Eric. Of course, I remember you and your wife, and that was a fun time at Oshkosh in front of that AOPA tent, I believe. That's where that picture was
if they named
taken.
the baby Jeff.
Yeah, well, Liz is wondering if they named the baby Jeff. I think, you know what? I don't think so, because I think they would have mentioned that in the
If they're going to
audio.
surprise you at Oshkosh.
Yeah. Well, yeah, maybe it's going to be a surprise. That would be kind of sad if they did that.
Before
Actually,
you address his question, Neil has a question. Neil has a
Neil.
comment.
Before I address a question, Neil says it's like the Rolling Stones said, "I see a radome and I want it painted black." Okay.
Pretty sure that's the classic original line.
I
Yes.
see a radome and I want to paint it
Liz is singing in the background.
badly.
Okay. So I think I knew the answer to this, but just to be sure, I did a quick search on the internet, and this is a gentleman named Spiros Georgielidakis. I think he's Greek.
Ding, ding, ding.
Ding, ding. Yeah, hang on. I definitely deserve a back for that one. He says, in pictures of older jets, turboprops, even some piston-engined aircraft, we can often see them sporting black noses. Let's see. To understand the reason for this, we need to see what function the nose has. Well, the nose is to part the air, right? No. As many people know, the nose
what's
is
hiding underneath it?
Yeah, well, or
The pilots from falling out.
it's the way the airplane sniffs things and knows what things smell like. As many people know, the nose is where most airliners have their weather radar. Yes, the only real exception is some regional or smaller aircraft, and they have an engine in there. And in that case, if they have a weather radar, it's probably resting on the leading edge of the wing. Okay. The radar has an antenna that needs to see ahead of the aircraft, so obviously the nose cone can't use metal as a material. Leaving the antenna uncovered would probably be a bad idea as well. Yeah, not very aerodynamic and probably not good for the radar underneath. The name of the part that covers the radar is a radome, a word mixing radar and dome. To allow radar waves to go through, the radome's material is fiberglass or a honeycomb structured composite. The radome also needs to repel water, and it needs to continue to repel water, being hydrophobic over time. The presence of water is a problem because it's water that the radar is supposed to detect. Trust me, there are some airplanes I've flown that when you get into a lot of rain, it's just so much water on that radome, that nose cone, that your radar basically becomes useless. It's just everything is red, and that's no good. So over time, the dust, debris, or hail battering the nose could slowly abrade away part of the surface of the radome. This could cause water to enter in, eventually freezing in place. The frozen water would make the damage worse. A rubberized layer can prevent this, And it is this layer that gave the radome, and with it the nose, its black look. It's just a coating of rubber. The very front of the radome is what needs most of the protection, so sometimes aircraft noses only had a small front section in black. Just the part that needed to be kind of radio wave transparent. With time, airlines could start painting over this material for a different look. Anyway, so the reason for that is that technology happened and advanced, and they came up with treatments to the like paint that you could put over that nose cone radome that weren't black, but were still had those hydrophobic properties and allowed the radar waves to penetrate through the through that. And so, of course, the design. They wanted the liveries to look all nice and fancy and clean, and they started going away from the black noses. And yeah, that's kind of the reason why you see the older airplanes with the black. It's because that was before technology and paint had gotten to the point.
Rubber's black.
Yeah, black. Rubber is black for sure. Okay, well, I guess
that's good.
Well, you could have like a rubber. Some of the rubber noses are red, so I guess they make red rubber too. I guess they could have made red radomes.
Yeah,
I don't
you
know.
have to pay extra for that. Probably.
I think back in the day though, the black was a little bit cheaper to manufacture. I've read some of that too, so I was doing some research on that. So it was more cost efficient, and the black apparently certain types of black paint were more resistant to some of the abrasive or the abrasion issues. So.
Oh, cool.
Multiple things, but I think the rubber is the most, plausible explanation.
Yeah, that's a great question, Eric. I'm not sure I answered it correctly, but I'm sure at least 50% correct.
Oh, Tim's got another question here.
Oh, Tim says, if I put radar paint on my car, can the cops see me? No, they can't. So I would get some of that rubber paint and then just go speeding around town and see what happens.
No, but the rubber still allowed the, the radar to function. So.
Yeah. Oh.
So if you painted your car with it, yeah.
But if you get a thick enough layer of rubber all over your car, it's like being a bumper car. Like you just bump everybody out of the way. I would love to have that, actually. That would be fun. Thank you.
Moving right along.
Thank you, Eric. I do remember you and your wife, and it was fun. I hope to see you again this year at AirVenture in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. All right, and another video. This is an interesting one. And if you'll pop that up there, I think I'm ready to hit play, and here we go. Why is it doing that? Okay, here we go. All right, we're seeing a 727 cockpit view from the first officer's vantage point. Guy's looking pretty cool. He's got his cool sunglasses on. And it's loud, of course, because it's a 727.
009. Okay, roll your dad. My brakes, my plane. You're in communications.
All right, they're stopped. Putting the throttles up. Letting the engines stabilize. Got 3 of them.
Engines 1, 2, 3 are stable.
He's pushing the 3 throttles up, and then the captain is kind of making some fine adjustments to the throttles. Still has his hand on them in case there's an abort situation necessary. And then, 80 knots. The first officer pushed this lever forward that I've never seen before. Okay, he rotates the aircraft. B2. Positive rate. Gear up. Alright, gear handle's coming up. And there they go, flying that beautiful airplane, that 727. Hear the nose wheel coming up, hitting the wheel snuffer, or whatever we call that thing. Kind of keep it from spinning. You notice the tube over there in the windscreen. That's because the airplane leaks a lot, and when the water comes in, it kind of channels the water away to someplace that's safe and not all over your electronic instruments. Anyway, okay, so that is enough of that video. Sorry, it was very, very noisy. So the question that Adrian, I probably should have started with that. Adrian sent this in. He's from Toronto, haven't really sent in feedback or questions before. Came across this video on YouTube, which we just watched a little bit, which sent me down an aviation rabbit hole. Are they different than regular rabbit holes?
No.
I think they are. No? Okay. Noticed after the takeoff thrust was set, a handle in front of the flap handle is pushed to the full forward position. I watched a number of 727 takeoffs, and this seems to be a normal operation. Not on a Delta 727 that I flew, it's not. After some searching online, determined that this is a friction handle / friction lock. However, it seems this is unique to the 727, but not all 727s seem to have it. I assume it is to prevent the throttles from jiggling traveling back once proper takeoff thrust is set. Curious if Captain Jeff can recall this from his 727 days, how this handle's used, what the correct reasoning is. Your reasoning is correct, Adrian. Do you have that? You've probably already shown that picture, but I think he sent a picture in as well. Okay. That gives us a little bit better. Here, let me remove that, and then you can put your thing on there. There we go. There is the aforementioned handle that was pushed forward, and I believe it says friction on it. And he's got it nice and circled there, adjacent to the flap handle. So Adrian, as you said in your feedback, it looks like not all 727s seem to have it, and I do not remember that. Now, maybe it's just because it's my memory is failing me, and it's been a long time. It was the 90s that I flew the 727, but I don't remember that. I don't remember don't remember doing what that first officer did. I mean, he just jammed it all the way forward at when they made the 80 knot call out. But that's exactly what it's
kind of
there
odd.
for.
I've never flown anything that's got a friction adjustment or friction lock, that's so definite like that. Usually they take a little bit more fine tuning.
Right.
You can kind of adjust it to where you want it based on feel, as opposed to just full forward or full back.
I just don't remember, like a lever kind of a thing, looking thing like that before. I've been other mechanical means to kind of adjust friction, but that's usually something you do, when you're doing your pre-flight and kind of feeling the way the throttles are moving. Now, remember, this is before the days of fly-by-wire systems, where this is fly-by-cable, and there were actual cables connected underneath that throttle quadrant that run all the way back to where the engines are. And on the 727, you have 3 of them, and they're all back on the tail of the aircraft. That's why they call it the 3-holer, or for some reason they call it the Studebaker. I'm not sure why, but a lot of names for the 727. But so
I
wish I could
tell
tell you
more
more.
creative and like to give everything nicknames and stuff like that.
Yeah, we do. We love that. But that's what it's for. And no, I never recall, or I don't recall ever having seen that or using that in the way that this guy did in that video. But we'll put all that in the show notes if you want to watch that video. Very interesting. All right. Let's see. We should move on.
About controls coming up here.
Okay. We go in order here. The next one.
Yeah. We've got about 7 minutes to the 2.5 hour mark. Just
very
so
good. We'll just keep trudging along here.
Yep. That's fine.
This is from Erbium. Erbium. Wonky Control. That's a great Latin name. Wonky Controls is the name of his feedback. Hello, Captain, Doc, Captain, Macho Man, AJ, and retired financier Liz. And then he puts in parentheses, I miss Miami Rick. We all do. While browsing Reddit, I came across an image of an Ilyushin IL-76 showing misaligned throttles, presumably to maintain equal thrust. And then he gives us a link there. And I've also attached the pic below in case of link problems. Okay, I don't think I ended up. Oh, that's not a video. Okay, this reminded me of an event 15 or so years ago. I live in the north of Scotland, and was lucky enough to visit Kinloss, which was a sister RAF station to the fast jet base at Lossy, the one Captain Nick knows. Kinloss had Nimrods, which were maritime patrol sub-hunters derived from the original Comet airliners. It was an open day, and I got to sit in an old Nimrod Mark II simulator. It was still functional, even though the replacement Nimrod 4 was already in the process of being abandoned. The nice chap showing my friend, a real pilot, and me around the sim let me sit in the left seat and put it in straight and level flight, then went off to speak with someone else. I struggled with the weight of the controls before figuring out that the 3-foot diameter metal wheel next to me was the trim wheel. Yeah, trim helps. I also remember 4 dials each with a spinning. I should probably mention to those Airbus drivers out there. Trim is this system that we have to like take the load off, or the force off the controls when you're flying an airplane, and it
makes
changes
them feel
speed.
less heavy, you know?
Yeah, less heavy.
You don't have to work quite as hard.
Yeah.
In most airplanes.
I know that's a foreign concept to you Airbus guys out there. He said, I also
like,
remember 4
With their
dials.
pinky finger up all the time.
Yeah, drinking their coffee or tea. I also remember 4 dials each with a spinning needle to synchronize the engines. It looked proper mad. So to my question, what's the crew's most misaligned or wonky flight control experience? There must have been some. And can you throw that image up again, Liz, please? So that, actually, those look pretty darn closely aligned.
They look pretty
to me.
close. I've seen worse.
Oh,
I've seen a lot worse.
So Steph, you have some experience with misaligned throttles in the airplanes that you fly?
You know, the Otter is a bit on the older side, and yeah, definitely could be a bit more misaligned than that, especially as you're climbing and, you know, you're advancing the thrust based on your altitude to basically reach the temperature that you want to be at, and then sometimes those were pretty unequal. So
yeah, before the days of FADEC systems and fly-by-wire throttles where you don't have anything but an electronic impulse going back to the electronic engine controls, etc., where you just put the throttle levers in a certain position, and all the magic happens. And so they're almost always just perfectly aligned. Most especially in the Airbus, the modern Airbus world, where those are just switches basically that you're putting in position. There's no reason for them not to be perfectly aligned, right? The engine control units do all the adjustments. Yeah, the fine tuning. But when you flew the airplane like that 727 that we just saw, or the L-1011, or almost every airplane that I've flown except the 717 and the MD-90, which had FADEC systems, the Mad Dog MD-88 and the 727 and the L-1011 that I flew, and the C-141, and of course all the the trainer jet trainers. All had, manual cables going back to the fuel control units. And, maintenance usually does a pretty good job of, making sure everything is all nicely lined up and then the engines are putting out the same amount of thrust and et cetera. But, over time, sometimes things get worn. It's an analog system, not digital. And, it's not unusual for us to be now, sometimes it would get so out of whack, like, maybe 1 or 2 knobs difference, which is kind of weird because when you're moving the throttles, because there's no auto throttle system, you're kind of holding your hand a weird way to like move them in unison, because if you've got them all lined up on N1 RPM or EGT or EPR, engine exhaust pressure ratio, then you want to keep them in the same general position. And but at a certain point, I forgot, there's certain parameters that require us to write them up, like if it's more than a knob.
Yeah, like it's too far. Yeah, you can't.
Yeah, it's just like too unusual.
Flying it that way.
Need to go and take the panels off.
Prop control levers in the Otter were pretty good for being not the same either. And every little change in pitch or attitude will throw the props out of sync with each other. So you spend the whole time climbing to altitude, messing with them to make sure that they're synced up, because otherwise it sounds horrible.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's well, I guess jet engines kind of sort of have, not to the same extent that props have, as far as that. Yeah, synchronization.
They're like out of tune with it. Yeah, the sound waves are out of sync with each other from the props being out of sync.
And this is for you, Tim.
You can really hear it.
It's not unusual to have throttles out of whack.
Very good.
I don't know. Anyway, his comment was, sounds like the Tom Jones syndrome. It's not unusual.
Thanks, Erbium.
Yeah, so he was right. That's exactly why they're all misaligned. But as we said, that's not as bad as I've ever seen. That's for sure. Okay.
So we're at the 2.5 hour mark. I would suggest, if you want to carry on a little bit, 7, 8, and then we'll end off with 13.
Okay. So we're going to knock out a couple more. It's a little bit longer than normal. We've been trying to keep them to close to around the 2 hour, 2:15, something like that. But we're going to go a little bit longer on here because we're actually, getting a lot of feedback, which is something, again, that Liz is extremely happy with. And so here, let's go to. Do we have to do this one?
Yeah,
this is from Tim Van Ram.
It's a video.
Okay, it's a video.
He showed up because he knew that we were gonna.
Yeah,
he's
lurking. He's waiting.
He did? Okay, let's skip this one then. Just kidding.
He's going out and rubberizing his RV at the moment.
I'm not even going to touch that one.
Yeah.
All right. Tim Van Ram sent this in. Delta grilling season is here. Yeah. So APG family, it appears that Delta Airlines takes grilling season seriously. I ran across this post on Instagram that shows a jet plane in Delta livery that is actually a barbecue grill. I'm certain Captain Dana would have seniority to operate, as this type rating would allow him to wear his chef hat with the wild hair. Yeah, that would be funny. How cool is this? Okay, let's take a look.
Okay, so I'm here in Atlanta for some training tomorrow. That's another video. But anyway, I'm walking along and I see this little thing down here. It looks like an airplane. And I go over here. By the way, here's the Delta widget. See that on the fence? This is corporate headquarters on that side. And I walk over here and I'm like, what is this? What is this? And I'm looking, and there were bottles of propane. When I walked by on my way to dinner, it was coming out of a truck over there, and there's propane bottles. I'm like, what is happening? And then I come back here after dinner, and I look at the registration number. It's obviously not an airplane. November, which is N, it's the word for N. BBQDL, Barbecue Delta. Some mechanic or somebody created this airplane-looking thing, and there's a door here, and there's probably some doors on the other side. There's a wing on this side, probably no wing over there. They flip it up, and what they do, that is a freaking barbecue. Isn't that crazy? It's probably a few barbecue embedded into the thing there. On the other side of the headquarters, there is a jet engine barbecue, so this goes along with it. So isn't that cool? I just thought I'd share that with you. Bye.
Bye. Delta has that's been around for quite some time. In fact, I bet Steph has seen that at the what do they call it? Hops in the hangar. They usually
I don't know if they had it there, but I've seen it. I know where it is. Yeah,
it's been around.
Tim Van Ram is asking for some payment here for his input.
Tim Van Ram, if you guys keep reading my stuff, I'm going to have to click the option for reverse Patreon.
Yeah,
okay, well, thank you for the warning. Then we will not read any more of your stuff. Thank you. It makes it a lot easier on us. No, that's a good one.
8 and then 13.
8. Okay. Thanks, Tim. Trying to find Evernote. Here we go. 8 number. This is feedback from Ahmad Dan-Hamidu. He says, I'm getting close to the EL 500 range. Hello, beloved APGers. It's Ahmad Dan-Hamidu from Abuja, Nigeria. Just calling in to say hello. Hello. I'm doing a great job. No, I'm doing great and hope you all are too. Yeah, we are. Thank you for asking. There hasn't been any feedback from my end recently. That's because I'm still busy trying to catch up via the older episodes. At the moment, I'm not far from not the FL 500, flight level 500 range, but rather the EL 500, episode level 500 range of episodes, APG 456 to be precise. I really hope no one finds a cure for APG syndrome. Dr. Steph, please, no research or tests on a vaccine. Otherwise, I'd be cured into skipping episodes and thus be denied of my balanced APG diet. I say balanced APG.
You're in luck. I'm just a practitioner. I'm not a researcher. So.
There we go.
Yeah, he is.
You're
in
safe.
luck.
At least from me.
Yeah, I mean, we're still searching for the what is it?
Go around to selling.
Yeah, we're trying to make it better because there's still several serious perfected. There are several serious side effects in going.
Why, hello there. My name is Miami Hick, and I'm here to talk to you today about an embarrassing subject that no one likes to talk about: APG syndrome.
Yeah.
Do you have a constant pain in your neck from always looking up at airplanes?
Uh-huh.
Have you tried to grow your own Captain Jeff mustache?
Yeah.
Do you think of Miami Rick every time you hear a cricket?
Yes.
Think of Captain Nick when you hear a frog croak?
Yeah.
Think of Dana whenever you eat Boston baked beans?
Yeah.
Do you think of Dr. Steph whenever you get stuck with a needle?
Mm-hmm.
If you answered yes to any of these questions, then you are suffering from APG syndrome. Well, suffer no more. Introducing Go Around Acillin. With only 36 daily doses of an easy-to-swallow pill, you can be free of your symptoms with Go Around Acillin. Talk to your doctor today and find out if Go Around Acillin is right for you.
Does it have any side effects?
Like all medicine, Go Around Acillin has side effects which include headache, nausea, vomiting, stomach bleeding, bleeding from the ears, nose, and eyes, uncontrolled diarrhea, stomach cramps, yellowing of the teeth, hair, and toenails, warts, hair loss, dry mouth, constipation, and stomach cramps.
The stomach
Totally
cramps
reasonable.
are particularly bad because they had to mention
And I
it
feel
twice.
like easy to swallow was in quotes for those capsules.
36 times a day.
36 easy to swallow. They're like, horse pills.
Yeah, so we're still working on. We have researchers working on the Go Around Acillin. But if you are somebody who wants to watch all of the episodes, like Ahmad, you definitely have the APG syndrome. So anyway, so let's continue with his feedback. I say balanced APG diet because I prefer feasting on all the nutrient-rich groups of the show together, which include Getting to Know Us, Coffee Fund, News, Feedback, Plain Tales. Oh, this is one we haven't had in a while. HIGH, How I Got Here. Hi. This portion of the show is an exotic rare dessert. He's right about that. This is how and why I quietly, the limited feedback, stay nourished with the good stuff from y'all. Thanks so much for all y'all do so well. Cheers. Oh, it almost sounds like he's from the South, doesn't it? Thanks so much for all y'all do so well. He is from the South Africa. Well, not really. Nigeria.
No, he's in the
kind of
middle of Africa.
middle Africa, yeah. Cheers, Ahmad, over and out. Always great to hear from you, Ahmad. We're really glad to hear you're doing well. You've been through a lot in your life, and we think about you a lot here. And it was so nice to see you send in some feedback again, like good old days.
We do appreciate it.
Yeah. Did you say number 9 too?
No.
No.
13. Number 13.
Ooh, that's a different. Oh yeah. Okay, let's do this. So Gubby was one of those contributors using the Coffee Fund Classic method today. Paul Gubb. He likes to refer to himself as Gubby. That's the way we like to refer to him as well. And the name of his feedback or his title is Funyuns. Whilst grabbing some gas at a nearby gas station here in Abu Dhabi, I found these Funyuns. Didn't try them as it seemed they were pretty spicy. Not contributed much as the show tends to air in the small hours with the 8 to 9 hour time difference. I remain an avid fan and look forward to each week's show. Tailwinds and blue skies, Gubby. And
So
then there's
these
a
are
picture of
flamin'
the
hot Funyuns.
Flamin' hot onion flavored rings. I've not tried that version of that. Looks
No.
good.
I see they're there with the, I think the Cheetos, which also have a Flamin' Hot.
Oh, yeah, they do. Yep. I like those Flamin' Hot
as well.
Cheetos, too.
Wonder if it's the
Good
same
probably the same
seasoning.
company.
Probably.
Yeah.
It's nice that
Cool.
he thought of us when he saw that.
It is nice that he thought of us when he saw those. All right, Gubby, thank you for that, and thank you for helping us wrap up the show. So it's wrap up time, and what we'd love to do is point you over toward the website airlinepilotguy.com, where you'll find information, most of it up to date, about the crew, the community, which is the best part of all of this, the APG library. Somebody was asking me about the library, like what I don't understand. What's this library thing about? So I think it was Harris who was asking. I tried to explain it. I don't think
compilation, a list of books, things that you can read if you
think
like
I did
to.
a very good job of explaining.
Yeah, it's just a list of books, things that are aviation related that you
mostly
can,
aviation
you know, if you're looking for mostly aviation related,
Something
aviation
interesting,
adjacent things.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you're you like the paperbacks or the hardcovers and you want to
Yeah, and
enjoy
I
some
think
reading
even
in your spare time.
audiobooks
It's a
are
good place to
listed as
look.
well.
And audiobooks,
Our librarian, who is a real legal librarian and a very smart person, Tiffany, manages that for us. And so thank you, Tiffany, for all the hard work you do. And so much more on that website. So check it out, airlinepilotguy.com. And we're also on social media, what I like to call the social meds.
We are indeed. It's the usual places. You can head to facebook.com/airlinepilotguy. Over on X, we are at APG Crew. If you're looking for Captain Nick's show artwork from each week's show, that's on Instagram, instagram.com, where we are also APG Crew. And if you'd like to watch these live show recordings or join in the live show, that's YouTube, youtube.com/airlinepilotguy. And if that's just not enough, I'm hoping Hillel is hanging around as usual to tell us about Slack.
Let's see if he's in the second bathroom. Oh, yeah. I can hear him moving the fader up. Oh, I hear. Hey, can you tell us about Slack? Hello?
Okay, but I'm dripping wet.
How did you know he was going to say that, Liz? All right. I don't know. Come over here and tell us all about Slack.
APG listeners, please join us on our Slack team. Slack is a communication, coordination, and sharing platform that works on your mobile, laptop, or browser. On Slack, we share news and ideas, we suggest episode and Plain Tales topics, we plan events and meetups. To get into the Slack team, please email me at slack@airlinepilotguy.com. That's SLACK, Sierra Lima Alpha Charlie Kilo @airlinepilotguy.com. Or send me a tweet with your preferred email address to @Hillel, and I'll send you an invitation. That's Hillel, spelled Hotel India 11 Echo 1, and see you in Slack.
Thanks a lot, Hillel.
Oh yeah, Delta P.
Okay. Haven't heard about Delta P in a while. Wait a minute. Every time somebody says Delta P, we're supposed to do this. There we go. And every time we mention our producer, Liz, we do this. We push this applause button and we clap and we thank Liz for all the hard work she does. Mostly between shows, all the prep work that she does before the shows and picking out news and picking out feedback and all that kind of stuff is an awesome job, and she does it so well. So thank you.
You're welcome.
And we'd also thank you, Steph, for being here with us today. It's great. Yeah, it was great having Captain Nick as well, although he couldn't last the entire time. But it's getting kind of late over there in the UK. And also would like to thank our wonderful live audience, our live chat room. It's always entertaining to see what they're doing over there.
Pretty funny today.
They're very
Pretty
funny
amusing.
people. And so we appreciate you so much and love you. And everybody listening, thanks for listening to us. And with that, we're going to go ahead and wish you clear skies, unlimited visibility, and tailwinds. Take care, and God bless.
Cheers, y'all.
See you next time.
Yeah, he's up in the sky. It's the airline pilot guy.
Good day.
Now look at them yo-yos, that's the way you do it. You talk a lot on the APG. Now that ain't working, that's the way you do it. Money for flying and your beer for free. Now that ain't working, that's the way you do it. Let me tell you, them guys ain't dumb. Maybe get a little blister on your finger. Maybe get a blister on your thumb. We've got to fly these McDonnell Douglas. We've got to fly these Airbuses. We've got to move these passengers. And we don't do it for free. See that little pilot with the stripes and the mustache? Yeah, buddy, that's his own hair. That little pilot flies his own jet airplane. That little pilot is a millionaire. We've got to fly these McDonnell Douglas. We've got to fly these Airbuses. We've got to move these passengers. And we don't do it for free. I used to be such a good pilot till I started APG. I opened doors for little old ladies. I helped them to their seats. Airline pilot guy, I fly Omega. Oh, airline pilot guy, he can land in heavy fog. I got no friends cause I'm always flying. I just don't have the time. But I can land this old plane. I can land it just fine. Airline pilot guy, I fly